of the drive on this leap day, February 29th. If this is your birthday, you know, I really would love to talk to you today. I wonder what it's like to have your birthday on a day that only occurs once every 4 years. I saw where they had some people on Fox this morning. It's triplets who were 20 years old, or were they 5 years old? and you know, I wonder, you know, there's all kinds of things. So let's say you're born on leap year, and you know, what do you put down as your birthday on your driver's license and stuff like that?
Yeah, I would imagine there's a lot of things that won't allow you to put February 29th as a date.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to talk to somebody who's gone through that. Anyway, if your birthday, happy leap day birthday year, and we'll get on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. As you know, on Matt Murphy's show, we broke a little news that Mark Green has decided, after all, that he will run for re-election. It was on Valentine's Day that he surprised many people by saying that he had decided he was not going to run for re-election, that he thought that the war was not in Washington but against Washington, and he was going to work from the outside to do something different and was not going to run for re-election. Caught a lot of people by surprise. But in recent days, we have begun to understand that he was reconsidering that. And I indeed did exchange text messages with him a couple of days ago and said, are you reconsidering? What's going on? And he did confirm for me that he was reconsidering, and he would let me know when it was time to make an announcement. So he'll be with us to explain all of what happened and his thought processes, but he is going to run for re-election after all. Put out a statement at about 2:15, and we can now report that he will run for re-election, and he'll be with us at 3:35 here in just a short while on Super Talk 99.7. On the cable news shows right now, we have your veritable split screen situation because we have President Biden at the border in Brownsville. We have former President Trump at the border in Eagle Pass. And they're both, today is all about the border. Funny that this becomes the day that everybody shows up down there. You know, isn't it interesting? The Biden people say they didn't know that Trump was going when they made their decision to go. That's what they say. But you know, he has to go down there and make a little dog and pony show. He's going to the place where there's not anything happening. Because, you know, this is not one of the hot spots. Brownsville, Matamoros is not one of the big hot spots with regard to people who are coming across the border illegally. But that's where he is. On the way down in Air Force One, he was accompanied by Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas of the Department of Homeland Security, who said that, look, you know, the long-term solutions here require, his opinion, a congressional solution.
The fact of the matter is that the only enduring solution is legislation. Congress needs to act. We have a bipartisan piece of legislation that 3 senators worked on intensely for a number of months. I was very privileged to be at the table to provide technical and operational expertise. The administration was represented at the table. We need Congress to act.
Need Congress to act. Can't do anything, the president says, until Congress acts. That is, by the way, unadulterated. You know what? It's not true. And I have, from the Wayback Machine, this is a great little nugget, a great little find. This is September of 2021. MSNBC, Alejandro Mayorkas is being interviewed, and he admits that, you know, that they were in the process then and had been in the process for, I guess, about 8-9 months at that point, to overturn all of the Trump policies. They admitted it in September of 2021. Oh, no, here it is. And they were proud of the fact that they had undone all the Trump policies.
I'd like to understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
Isn't that an amazing soundbite? There's the admission. They say that they can't do anything, but I mean, all they got to do is just undo what they did in the first 8 months of the administration. But of course, if they do that, then they're admitting that what happened is their fault. But here it is. I want you to listen again. September of 21, Alejandro Mayorkas admitting that they were in the process of dismantling everything that had been done on the border by the previous administration.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
Yeah. So if they undid them and then we ended up with a disaster on our hands, why not just reinstate them? Well, I mean, I think the answer is obvious, because if they reinstate them and again, things go back to being relatively secure on the border, then they are absolutely proven to be 1,000% culpable. They're culpable anyway for what's happened down there. If they just left well enough alone. But no, the Biden administration, they know better about how to handle Afghanistan. They know better about how to handle the border. How has that worked out for America? Both of those things have not worked out well. And one of them hasn't worked out well for the world. Man, I'm telling you, these guys are such boneheads. And they think that by just saying, well, we need congressional, action before we can possibly do anything to solve the problem at the border. Brandon Judd speaks on behalf of the Border Patrol Union, the actual rank and file Border Patrol members. President Biden is not talking to any of them. He's talking to supervisors. He's talking to the higher-ups within the Border Patrol at ICE. He's not going to get much from the people who are on the front lines, I promise you that. But Brandon Judd, because he speaks on behalf of the union, can say things that the other rank-and-file people cannot get away with saying. And he says, look, everything that the Biden administration wants from Congress, everything that they're asking for, it really rotates around one thing: a pathway to citizenship or amnesty.
The only policies that he put out was amnesty or a pathway to citizenship for all of these people that cross the border illegally. There was nothing in any of his policies that were border security measures. Nothing.
Nothing. He only wanted to put forth policies that would lead to citizenship. That's always been their game. And to do that, and to have the crisis that we have here in place now, remember, they had to undo a lot of things that had been done before by the Trump administration when we had a relatively secure border. They had to issue some 94 executive actions to get us in the mess we're in now.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
Oh, I love that soundbite. I hope that gets turned into a nice little 60-second political ad, a little 30-second political ad for TV. That's amazing right there. Brandon Judd also says that, Biden going to Brownsville, he's not going where anything is actually happening. He won't actually see the problem.
He's not going to any location where he's going to be able to evaluate what he needs to do. What are the policies? What are the programs that need to go into place? And he's not going to be able to do that in Brownsville. If he would have went to San Diego, if he would have went to Tucson, if he would have come out here to Eagle Pass, if he would have went to the trouble locations, he would have been able to get a little bit more understanding and evaluate the situation to come up with it. He's not going to do that. He can't do that. He's repeatedly said that he doesn't have executive authority to control this, and if he turned around and he did something today, then everybody would recognize that the past 3 years are all on him.
All on him. Well, they are all on him. It's his fault, and him going down to Brownsville and doing a little dog and pony show and walking up and shuffling up to the river and taking a look at a boat and shuffling off and having a briefing. I don't know what he hopes that he's going to gain from this. Right now, again, on the split screen, you got on the left side, you got the president of the United States in Brownsville, and he's getting a briefing from people in suits. And then on the right side of your screen, you have the former president, Donald Trump, at Eagle Pass, Texas, where there is actually something going on. And Brandon Judd is there speaking on behalf of the Border Patrol men and women on the front lines. That tells you everything you need to know about this whole situation. maddening. Other border related news. After all of these people have been killed by people who came into this country illegally, the whole big spate of them. I think we had talked about 3 different cases yesterday. The White House has now called for sanctuary cities to start cooperating with ICE because there's a lot of furor over illegal immigrant crimes. And, in sanctuary cities, if they got you and they release you, they will not call ICE. They will not call the Border Patrol. They will not let them know, hey, there's this guy. He's here illegally. We're putting him out on bond. And you might want to come over here and get him. They don't do that. And so these people find themselves right back in the community where they have just committed a crime. Now the White House is saying you can't do that anymore. I mean, I know that you've have all these sanctuary city policies in place, but that's one that you need to drop because we're getting killed with the bad press every time an illegal immigrant kills somebody, and it's happening almost on a daily basis. New York City Mayor Eric Adams now wants to change New York City's sanctuary city status. Oh, how about that? We should not be allowing people who are repeatedly committing crimes to remain here, and we cannot collaborate with ICE in the process. The comments follow a similar statement Adams made on Monday. If you commit a felony, a violent act, should be able to turn you over to ICE and have you deported. The influx of illegal aliens in New York City has brought with it an influx of serious crime. In January, security cameras captured a group of migrants assaulting police officers in Times Square. This month, the NYPD said over 5,000 of its officers have been injured due to the migrant crisis. Last week, an illegal alien stabbed a 17-year-old boy in Times Square, and a group of migrants in a tent shelter on Randall's Island attacked police officers at an incident that nearly became a riot. All of this from the National Pulse. And then what I think is a really sad development, honestly, from Reuters, a federal judge in Texas on Thursday blocked the Republican-led state's new law giving officials broad powers to arrest, prosecute, and order the removal of people who illegally cross the U.S.-Mexico border. Texas had passed a law saying that if the federal government is not going to protect us from invasion, then we are going to pass a law that says when you come across that river illegally, we, the state of Texas, can arrest you. Now a U.S. federal judge has blocked the state of Texas from doing that. Not clear whether or not this matter will be appealed. I would imagine that it would. It was SB 4 that made it a state crime to illegally enter or re-enter Texas from a foreign country and gave state and local official law enforcement the power to arrest and prosecute violators. That law now blocked by a federal judge. 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
Congressman Mark Green running for re-election. After all, you can hear from him at 3:35 with Brian Wilson right here on Super Talk. Russia bracing for Alexei Navalny's funeral tomorrow, and an overturned box truck in Tennessee causing some traffic. Those stories and more, 3:30. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Well, looky there. There's Mac Morey, who's got all the stories. He's in the newsroom bringing you news and information. Of course, he's also the star attraction in a thing we call Mac Morey's Wide Wild World of Sports. Well, you are the star attraction.
I appreciate it.
The segment is named after you.
Yeah, it's got your name on
It would only be fitting, yeah.
Yeah, so you are the star. That's right. And by the way, great segment. Learn something every day. And then there's Chris Weber. He's over in the control room. I got to tell you, no. There you are, and you're wearing that my favorite shirt that you have, which is sort of a blue plaid thing. And
Yeah,
let me tell you,
I do
man,
like that shirt.
for television, if you're watching on Super Talk TV, it pops,
It
baby.
really does,
it pops. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got
Yeah.
the blue with the light blue.
Flannel action. It's good.
Yeah.
That's right. He looks like a lumberjack, is what he does.
You're wearing contrasting colors of yellow or orange or green.
Well,
or
Or are
whatever
they
it is.
green for Mark
no,
Green?
This is very bright. This is like ugly green. It's
Like
the color.
fluorescent.
It is. It's very limey green,
Lime,
very
yeah,
bright.
yeah, lime.
And it's the kind of green that they put on in fire trucks sometimes in some places.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah.
one of the most visible colors.
High vis yellow or something.
Yeah, I don't know what they call it. Not yellow; it's really more green.
Yeah, it
and
is
then,
green,
But
yeah.
and then, unfortunately, I do have a sort of a mustard yellow cap on. It's the
Style is
it doesn't
not,
work.
Not working today.
No, it's not. But this, primarily, I want you to know this is a radio program. If you want television, where's my wardrobe budget? That's what I would ask. When I worked at Fox, I had a wardrobe budget.
I need a hair guy. I mean, I need someone helping me out. Come on.
That was the other thing. We had a green room, where you went and I called them the angels of the green room. You go in there, you look like crap, and you come out, 5 minutes later looking like, yeah, I know. It's like, wow.
They worked their magic, huh?
Oh, listen, I'm telling you, those ladies were so good. And the thing about it is they're sort of like in the green room there, at least in DC. They're sort of like psychologists as well. I mean, because you come in, you're running around like a madman, trying to put together elements for your live shot or your live hit, and you're running and you're gunning, and I mean you're just wound up tighter than a drum, and you gotta sort of stop and go put on makeup before you can go on air because it's makeup. I used to say my dad is so proud of me. His son wears makeup, but I'll tell you something. In television, good makeup. Well, I'll tell you the difference. Look at the people on Fox News, exquisitely made up, every man, every woman to the nth degree.
Oh, yeah.
And then look at Donald Trump when he smears on some orange stuff. I mean, that tells you the difference. Donald Trump needs a green room. Is what he needs.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they would soothingly talk to you. Hi, Brian. Hi, sit down. And and then they would put the makeup on, and they would comb your hair, and they'd get everything, and they'd spray you and spritz you, and then and you had a moment to sort of and then you went right back out, and then you were ready to go on air.
It's kind of like a little respite, little relaxation right before you go.
It's like a spa, going into a spa.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I loved the ladies of the green room when I was there, but we don't have no wardrobe budget. We ain't got no green room. I got a green shirt, but no green room. Hey, before I move on, remind you that March 5th, Super Tuesday, Nashville Palace, free event. We'll be broadcasting live starting at 3 o'clock there. The event itself starts officially at 6, but I'll be there early. It'll be Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, and me for a night of food, fun, and conversation. No charge to get in, but food and drink is on you. You do need to RSVP at 997WTN.com. Brought to you by the Glock Store at Shoot 270, Busy Bee, good folks at Busy Bee, and membersnutrition.com. If you haven't made your reservation, you need to do so. And you'll be enrolled, and you'll be in the running for a massive hot chicken and barbecue tailgate package that can feed 25 people. And if you don't know 25 people, it can be you and me.
That'll get her done.
Because I got a big appetite, and I do love hot chicken. and barbecue tailpipe. You see, we don't have a green room. We don't have a wardrobe budget, and they don't have a food budget for talent.
Yeah, no craft service.
No, there's no craft services. Time for the news. 3:30. Mark Green after the news.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 50 degrees in Nashville. Got a weather forecast. Traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, as reported first by WTN's Brian Wilson of The Drive, Congressman Mark Green has decided to stay put and run for re-election rather than retire like previously stated. Allegedly, former President Donald Trump called Green asking him to stay in the race. A statement from Mark Green goes into those things, and he will join the show on The Drive, WTN 3:35. Stay tuned. Moscow bracing for Friday's funeral of Putin critic Alexei Navalny. Patrick Reevell is in western Ukraine reporting on what he's hearing out of Russia.
We know that the funeral is to take place in a small church in the south of Moscow in a suburb, and then his body will be buried in a cemetery nearby. And it does seem likely that police will try to prevent large groups of people getting to the church. Just in the last little while, we've heard there's been an attempt to try and request a memorial march on Saturday that has also been rejected.
Russian authorities have been pressuring his team to hold a secret funeral, but they say that tomorrow anyone who wants to come and pay respects should try to. Crash in Tennessee. 2 people were injured this afternoon after a box truck overturned in Franklin on Carlisle Lane at Cardell Lane. The road's now closed. The driver and passenger were treated at the scene of the crash for their injuries. Franklin police are unclear when the road will reopen. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood has been around for some 25 years as an independent agency, which is great. It's what you want. You want an independent agency. And you say, well, why, Brian? Why is that important? I'll tell you why. Because with an independent agency, you've got a company that is not wedded to just one insurance product. They will talk to you. They'll find out what your needs are, and then they will shop around among many, many different companies to find that one policy that truly fits your need. That's what you want. You don't just want to have them take whatever they got and just stick it on there. You want them to look around and find something that gives you more bang for your insurance buck. The other thing is, if you call, you're going to get great customer service. 615-329-8121. That's the number you call it. You get a person on the line. No phone recording, no phone tree. You're not going to sit around tapping your toe for 20 minutes listening to bad music on hold. They're going to actually just take your call, answer your questions, get your questions answered, and help you find exactly what you need. At King & Associates, they are the kings of the multi-policy discount, and there can be some big savings there, 20, 25, 30, 35%. So get your royal review with King & Associates Insurance. Just log into tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates Royal Treatment at great rates.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
"37 minutes now past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. And as we told you before the break, we are joined on the Newsmaker Hotline by Congressman Mark Green of the 7th Congressional District of Tennessee. It was on Valentine's Day that I sat here in my show and my mouth fell wide open because I did not see this coming. A statement from Congressman Green that he had decided not to run for re-election. But since then, and after contemplating for a while and hearing from a bunch of people, about an hour and 15, 20 minutes ago, a statement released saying that he's going to indeed run for re-election now, having reconsidered. Join us on the line, Congressman Mark Green. Okay, so walk me through it. What happened between Valentine's Day and today?
A tidal wave, Brian. It was. I did not expect it. I think day one I got 2,000 texts, and just people saying, "Mark, man, we really want you to stay in," and of course over the couple of weeks it just got louder and louder, and finally some state legislators. It started with Kerry Roberts actually, who called me and said, "Man, I really wish you would run, and I know you got other things you want to do, but those will still be out there. Just go run and be chairman of Homeland Security one more time." And I said, "Okay, I'll think about it." And then all the dominoes just started falling. Marsha called, of course, President Trump, and so you obviously when President Trump calls, you got to think about it, and so we did, and prayed about it, and said, "Well, we'll get back in." There's still a lot we can do. I did what I promised I would do, and that was enough for me. I thought I'd come home, but there's still more we can do, and we'll put some objectives on the chalkboard and go after those in the next term.
But in your statement on Valentine's Day, you sounded frustrated with Washington. That you said, the battle is not in Washington; it's against Washington. And I think I can do a lot more from the outside than I can do. But you were frustrated. I mean, it's very clear that you were frustrated by some of the things going on. And some stories were written about, we're losing a lot of good chairmen and a lot of good people because of what is perceived to be some toxicity in Washington these days. So, I mean, were you frustrated? I mean, obviously, if you had made a decision that you didn't want to run, there must have been some things that were sort of bugging you about what was going on in the nation's capital.
Well, clearly, everybody, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or, one of my heroes in politics, Ron Ramsey, used to say a rocket surgeon, to see the place up here has a lot of dysfunction, and it is very frustrating. And I think it's some of it is inherent in how the two-party system works. The Democrats vote their ideology. Republicans try to represent their districts. So you take a guy like Brian Fitzpatrick out of Philadelphia. He's in the Philadelphia suburbs. He's probably in a Biden 10, right? And he's a Republican, and so he votes differently than I do. My district is a different district. I represent my district, and fortunately for me, my beliefs align with my district. But that means that for Republicans to actually advance an agenda, they got to have a big majority. Whereas the Democrats, they need one vote. That's it, because they're always going to lockstep vote. So that's probably one of the biggest frustrating things for me up here, but it's inherent in the way our two parties function. I believe in representative democracy. I'm for the way it works, but for us, but because they vote ideologically, I mean, it just makes getting stuff done on a conservative Republican agenda very hard, and it produced a lot of frustration for me. And I came up here and said, these are the things I want to accomplish. We accomplished those things, and some of them very historic. I mean, I led the fight, and that's no mystery to your audience. I led the fight. I had the 9-10 month investigation. Some people were saying, rush it. I'm like, no, we have to do this methodically. But we impeached the only sitting cabinet secretary in the history of this country. And I led that fight. I led my colleagues. We got that done. And that was the last thing sort of on my list. And so I was like, okay, I'll go home. But with everybody just saying, we need you, we need you, we need you. I mean, I felt the call of duty. It's sort of like looking at that statue at West Point of Douglas MacArthur, duty, honor, country. I'm like, okay, I guess I need to do this, and I will. And we'll like I said, we'll pick 3 or 4 objectives for the next. And I've got, they're easy to pick, but we'll line those up and get them done in the next term.
All right. Some people had suspected or were speculating, I guess is the right word, that when you decided to get out that you were interested in running for governor. So, I mean, is there anything to that? Were you contemplating a run for governor?
I think people have known for a long time. I love Tennessee and the people of Tennessee. And I that job would be a dream job for me. But right now, my focus is reelection and getting some more things done in Congress. But that doesn't take that off the table, I don't think. But for now, we're gonna do this one.
All right. So now, since you are currently and I think going forward will also be the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, we have right now on our screens dueling split screen coverage of President Biden in Brownsville and former President Trump in Eagle Pass, and it seems that the sitting president of the United States understood that he needed to go to the border, but he's really not seeing much. Your thoughts about that trip to the border and what he's trying to accomplish, and what is it all about?
Well, they know politically. I mean, this is the only reason Joe Biden is down there, is to try to help his flagging poll numbers, because the border is an 80-20 issue in America right now, and it's rapidly approaching numbers bigger than that. When you've got people in communities being displaced, you got kids being displaced out of schools, you got murders like this young girl over in Georgia, a medical student or nursing student that was murdered by a Venezuelan who was released into this country. This is going on all over America. There isn't a single American who's safe. And Joe Biden knows he's suffering politically because of his open border policies. Now, the right thing to do would be to follow the law that was written by a bipartisan Congress years ago but it would fly in the face of their concept for a future America, and they're not going to do it. And so he's down there in a dog and pony show, and they've cleaned it all up so it'll look just fine for him. I promise you this, Brian, and I, as the chair of Homeland, I've been to the border so many times and talked to Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol, Customs Border Protection guys, Border Patrol and Customs guys, and those guys are celebrating Donald Trump's visit, and they are barely tolerating President Biden's.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I found there was a little clip that I stumbled across today from Secretary Mayorkas. He is still, for the moment, the Secretary of Homeland Security. And it's from September of 2021. This was an appearance on MSNBC. I want you to hear the question, and I want you to hear his answer. Again, remember, this is September of 21. He's been secretary only a few months, and here's how that went down.
I'd like to understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
Now, that's, again, September of 21. You have a situation where they now say, oh, well, we can't get anything done. We can't fix the border without Congress acting. But you have an admission in September of 21 that indeed they had just undone all the Trump policy era, and we know what happened afterwards. It turned into an unmitigated disaster. It is true, is it not, that this president could simply go back to where we were before, and that the situation would be immeasurably better.
Absolutely. They could go even further than that. The president currently has authority to, under emergency conditions, shut the entire border down completely. But the Trump-era policies absolutely worked, and there were about 89, I think, within a few weeks of going into office, that 89 policies that were rescinded, whether it was remain in Mexico or, next nation status or, some of that stuff, and the detention policies, the deportation policies that Trump had, those adhered to the law. And, of course, what President Biden's done is actually violating the law, and why we impeached Mayorkas was just the memos directing his own employees to break the law. But, yeah, I mean, there are too many tools available right now to solve the problem. They refuse to do it.
Will the Senate take up the impeachment matter?
That's the $1 million question. And I getting inside the mind of Chuck Schumer, first, the idea of that scares the hell out of me. But I don't think they can afford for us to come over there and present those articles, because every time we talk about this, America gets a little bit more educated on what this president has done to the country. And I mean, this is a fundamental long-term damage. When you look at that 1.8 million known gotaways, and that figure is misleading, because the Border Patrol agents have all left the border to process people at the crossing sites. We have so many more unknown gotaways now, as opposed to known gotaways. And so the number of people that are here that we have no idea who they are. Hamas, well, we don't know. We know we got an al-Shabaab guy released into the country. He was here for almost a year, and they just recently caught him. Thank goodness for the FBI task force on that. We know there are 7 or 9 Uzbekis that were brought here by an ISIS agent, but we don't even know about all the others in that big pile. We know fentanyl's poured into the country, going from $95 a hit to $28 a hit in Tennessee, according to our sheriffs. That's a supply-demand issue. That's because of Joe Biden, and Americans have died. We know that the cartels have linked up with the gangs in various cities across the country. They not only own the border, they now own the gangs inside the country. This is, fundamental harm to the United States of America by Joe Biden's immigration policies, all against the laws written by Congress, all disregarding a co-equal branch of government. And that's why I and my team impeached the guy.
All right, so you're in. You're running for re-election.
Yep.
Is that your final answer?
That's the final answer. Yeah. Well, look, I have a lot of respect for President Trump, and I'm all for him winning. And when he makes a call, that you sit up straight in your chair and you say yes, sir. And so here I am. I'm running for re-election.
All right, good deal. Congressman Mark Green, always a pleasure. Anytime you feel, frustrated and you just need to talk things out, you just, sort of, get things off your chest. I know this great little radio show. You're welcome here anytime.
Love being on your show, Brian. Take care. Appreciate it.
Congressman Mark Green announcing today that he's back in and will run for re-election. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Imagine what you could do, how you could feel if you or your loved one had no pain. Well, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville can lead you to a pain-free life. During the month of February, the Wellness Institute of Nashville is offering a life-changing non-surgical spinal decompression treatment at 50% off. This means payments may be as low as $30. So just call this number, 615-246, to set up your consultation. Now, during that consultation, Dr. Mitchell and or Dr. Ashley will review an advanced report of findings with you. They will go over any previous MRIs or x-rays you have in detail. They often find things that other people have missed. And then you will decide on which new age technologies are the best fit for you. Besides the non-surgical spinal decompression, they have robot laser and knee decompression for those with knee ailments. Remember, it's 50% off non-surgical spinal decompression for new patients. That's cheaper than most of your insurance copays in many cases. So call Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, set up an appointment today, 615-246-5009. I'm Brian Wilson, and the Wellness Institute of Nashville has my personal stamp of approval, so call them today. PainIsBad.com for more details.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
Congressman Mark Green joins the drive with a very big announcement. 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers still missing after 4 days now in Sumner County, and an IVF update out of Alabama. Those stories at the top of the hour. Super Talk, 997 WTN.
It's 57, call it 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Let's look at the markets. All screens are green here this afternoon. Dow Jones Industrial ended the day up 47. S&P up 26. NASDAQ 144. So what's driving these green screens in the market today? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management to get more on that. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, good day in the market. You know, we're living in this environment where we've seen records on the S&P and the Dow. Today, the NASDAQ joined them. It closed at a record, first one since 2021. What really happened was the Fed's preferred inflation report, we talked about this yesterday, the PCE index came in actually at expectations, and that was a relief for the market because the last couple this last month have been above the expectations, and of course that's put pressure on the Fed to keep rates high, which the market doesn't want to see. So the market really had some relief from that. So that's why the screens are green. Tomorrow we're going to be watching ISM Manufacturing Index along with construction spending and several Fed speakers. But a good report today in the market like that.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And find out more about what John and the other good folks over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to askbeaconnow.com. It is 59 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. You know, speaking of the good folks at Beacon, Beacon Capital Management has created a free retirement savings calculator to help you make informed decisions about your retirement. It's free and it's fast, and you'll get your results immediately. Just visit askbeaconnow.com. If you need a deeper dive, maybe give them a call at this number, 615-488-9303. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path to retirement? They can do a deep dive and take a look at what you got going on. Starts with a phone call to that number. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. You have nothing to lose except for the worry you might have. Get started today, 615-488-9303. You'll be able to rest easy knowing that you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path. 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at askbeaconnow.com.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 50 degrees, partly cloudy in Nashville. Traffic complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, Congressman Mark Green has decided to stay put and run for re-election rather than retire like previously stated. He joined WTN's The Drive with Brian Wilson.
With everybody just saying, we need you, we need you, we need you. I felt the call of duty. You know, it's sort of like looking at that statue at West Point of Douglas MacArthur, duty, honor, country. I'm like, okay, I guess I need to do this, and I will. And we'll like I said, we'll pick 3 or 4 objectives for the next. And I've got, you know, they're easy to pick, but we'll line those up and get them done in the next term.
Allegedly, former President Donald Trump called Green, asking him to stay. There were rumors that Green was thinking about running for governor of Tennessee. He said that would be his dream job because he loves Tennessee, but that for now, it's off the table. Right now in Sumner County, officials still searching 4 days later for 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who has autism. Law enforcement is still working under the impression that last time Rogers was seen was leaving his Hendersonville home on Sunday night while wearing all black and carrying a flashlight. Channel 4's Michael Warwick has word on Rogers if he's been seen since gone missing.
This past hour, we asked specifically if investigators have gotten any video, doorbell video, surveillance camera video of Sebastian, and they told us no, they have not seen any image of Sebastian since he went missing. They are pleading for the public to check your property day and night, and they are urging the public to make those searches in pairs. Also, investigators tell us the family of Sebastian has been very cooperative, and right now they are working on plans to release organized search efforts for the public, though those plans have not been released as of just yet.
And they want the community looking inside of sheds, crawl spaces, and to call if anything seems out of the ordinary. Searchers on the ground logged over 2,000 miles in the first 2 days. Sebastian is off of his medicine, which could compromise his health. He's believed to be in imminent danger. Lawmakers in Alabama rushing to advance legislation meant to restart IVF services in the state following a controversial ruling from the state Supreme Court. Mark Remillard reports.
Both chambers of the Alabama legislature have advanced legislation that would shield IVF clinics from lawsuits after the state Supreme Court declared frozen embryos are unborn children with legal protections. That prompted some clinics and hospitals to stop IVF treatments. Lois Frankel, chair of the state's Democratic Women's Caucus, says the decision's not a fluke, but the latest effort to curb women's reproductive rights since the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Alabama case is not an aberration. It's a warning of things to come.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
It is 8 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and you're listening to The Drive on Leap Day, Thursday, February 29th. That's right. This is that day that comes along every 4 years because, well, I don't know. It's a complicated astronomical calculation of some kind.
I think it takes us like 365 and a quarter day
to actually
revolve around the sun once.
So they have to make an adjustment every 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's why we get a full day on the 29th.
Just think if we didn't do that, eventually, if enough time passed, our seasons would all be like the calendar wouldn't make any sense. It'd be winter in the summer and summer in the winter and that sort of thing, right?
I hadn't thought that
Because it would get
through.
off far enough, little by little, as we went.
You're a deep thinker, Chris.
I got a lot of spare time.
and an understanding of math, which I don't.
Well, a little bit.
So there's that. Listen, we if you missed it in our first hour, we talked about the border. We'll come back to that border situation in the 5 o'clock hour. Mark Green was on our show and has announced that despite his earlier decision to not run for re-election, after a lot of people have begged him to reconsider, he has reconsidered, and he says he's back in. And I have a statement. Part of the reason he said he got back in was because he had been given a phone call by Donald Trump asking him to stay in. And Donald Trump actually has made a statement today. Mark Green has had lots of options because of his political talents and the great job he has done as a congressman. But given the fantastic work he's doing as chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, I hope he runs for re-election to the U.S. House of Representatives. If he does, he has my complete and total endorsement. The congressman said, there are a lot of people who called, a lot of people who wanted me to stay in. But when Donald Trump asks, it's hard to say no. So he's in, and he says it's his final answer. Okay. Let's talk 2024. We haven't had a 2024 update yet today, have we? I got all kinds of things going on. We'll start out with some numbers, but the numbers are easy to absorb because they all are positive for Trump, and I've gotten this broken down to a way that I think is sort of easy to understand. Absorbing a lot of numbers on the radio, I understand, is hard, and so, but this should be pretty easy to absorb. You ready? Bloomberg came out with its battleground state statistics for the upcoming race and where things are right now in these all crucial battleground states. Remember, battleground states are where you win elections, national elections. There's always going to be some states that are blue and some that are red. It's them purpley states. You got to watch them real careful. And right now, it looks like Donald Trump is leading in every one of the crucial battleground states. By how much? Well, I'll just run through that. So understand, in all of these battleground states, Trump is leading. In Arizona, he leads over Biden in the five-way race. He leads by 9. In Georgia, he leads by 7. Michigan is tight, according to Bloomberg. Some have it not as tight. There's another poll out there that says Trump leads by 5, but Bloomberg says in Michigan, Trump leads by 1. Nevada, Trump leads by 7. North Carolina, Trump leads by 10. Pennsylvania, this is unbelievable, Trump leads by 9. And Wisconsin, Trump leads by 6. These are all the numbers here. And again, these are incredible. I mean, when you're between, 4 and 9 points, that's pretty amazing. Again, the Michigan number from Bloomberg is much smaller than the average, and it's much smaller than the report I had yesterday, which was it had him up by 5. I think that was the Hills assessment. Michigan, Trump up by 5. But one way, that could be an outlier, but the rest of these look pretty consistent. Trump is pulling away in the battleground states, which means the Democrats are absolutely losing their minds. They are, every day we see polls like this, they are just going crazy, and they're doing nutty things. I want to spend some time talking about this because Democrats, everybody says, Wilson, doesn't matter what the polls show because the Democrats are going to cheat. And, and I think we've been pretty smart this time around about trying to shore up some of those loosey-goosey early voting, mail-in ballots things. We've done some work around the country to try to shore some of that stuff up where it's been possible to do so. But listen to this. We started picking up on this yesterday. Taxpayers are paying college students. You and I are paying college students to register Democrat voters. That's right. This is from frontpagemag.com. You have to hand it to them. Democrats don't miss a trick. Obviously, much of the Democrat voter registration infrastructure is already taxpayer funded. Many, if not most, of the community groups double as voter registration and outreach operations. They often provide foot soldiers for elections, not to mention protests. When you understand that, you also begin to grasp the massive advantage that Dems have going into every election. But that's still not good enough, so here comes the other shoe. Vice President Kamala Harris met with voting rights leaders on Tuesday, outlining her strategy for the government to start paying students to register people to vote. Harris met with voting rights activists in the Indian Treaty Room of the Eisenhower Executive Office Building in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday to talk about strategies to boost voting across the country. We've been doing work to promote voter participation for students. And for example, we have under the Federal Work Study Program, we now allow students to get paid through the Federal Work Study to register and be, quote unquote, nonpartisan poll workers. Well, there's nothing nonpartisan about this. What it means is taxpayers will pay college students to go into minority areas and dig up more votes for the Dems. Dems have talked about publicly funded elections in the past, and then they went ahead and created them. Again, this is from PateMag.com. Dems have talked about publicly funded elections in the past. They created them. I've discussed in some of my investigative reports the Dem benefit from a vastly public-funded political operation, and this will be another valuable addition to it. Paying college students to go out there and dig up votes. Well, first of all, even if they only are signing up their young voter friends, young voters, 2-to-1 generally vote Democrat. Now, that is concerning. And here is, you heard the quote. Here is her actually saying it.
We have been doing work to promote voter participation for students. And, for example, we have, under the Federal Work Study Program, now allow students to get paid through Federal Work Study to register people and to be nonpartisan poll workers. As we know, this is important for a number of reasons. One, to engage our young leaders in this process and activate them in terms of their ability to strengthen our communities.
We need to be raising unmitigated hell about this. We do, because, this is tax dollars that we send to Washington being reappropriated by the Biden administration, given to young students that they handpick to go out and register voters. And those people are going to be going out and registering only the right kind of voters, you can be sure. The ones who will vote Democrat. And you say, oh, Wilson, no, it's supposed to be nonpartisan, just getting people registered to vote. Let me take you a little deeper into this event and what she said. She said, our democracy could not function without nonpartisan poll workers like Vasu and Rob, who I met in Georgia. President Biden and I thank you and we support you. But instead of applauding a nonpartisan poll worker, X-Community Notes immediately tagged the tweet with additional context that readers might want to know, including the fact that Ibrahim Vasu is actually a liberal advocate who promotes the progressive movement. The nonpartisan poll worker on the left is Vasu Abrahman, a staffer at Left Wing Alliance for Justice and formerly of ACLU Georgia. His biographer for Alliance for Justice identifies him as the Helen Rosenthal Senior Counsel for the Building of the Bench program at Alliance for Justice. In this role, he serves as a dedicated advocate for diversity and inclusion in the federal and state judiciary, working collaboratively with a coalition of organizations to identify and recruit potential candidates for the bench. He is also credited with training thousands of poll workers and deputy registrars to safeguard the Democrat process during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah. So, when they pick these nonpartisan workers, who do you think the Biden administration is going to pick? Somebody from the college Republican? No, I don't think so. It's going to be someone like this guy, Vasu. And then here's another fascinating story. Now, look, if you go to my website, and it's called yourfarb.com, URFARB.com, you will find under the 2024 tab this story from thefederalist.com. Listen to this. 9 ways the feds are using Biden bucks to rig the 2024 election. When I say Biden bucks, what we're really talking about here is taxpayer dollars. You ready? I mean, it's astonishing how many ways they use the auspices of the federal government to help them get reelected. Number 1, the Office of Personnel Management. March of 22, Office of Personnel Management announced it would allow federal employees to take up to 4 hours of administrative leave to vote in any U.S. election. The agency further granted these workers the same amount of time to serve as poll workers or observers should they choose to do so. And it comes from their policy book. Number 2, the Department of Education. Role in carrying out Biden's executive order is unsurprising, given that Democrats' increased focus on courting young voters during the 2022 midterms. For example, this 18 to 29-year-old demographic broke heavily for Democrat candidates over Republicans by nearly 2-1. So there they are again at the Department of Education. Department of Health and Human Services. June of 23, the Daily Signal's Fred Lucas reported that the Indian Health Service, which falls under the Department of Human Health and Human Services, is collaborating with the ACLU, Demos, and several other left-wing organizations to register new voters. In order to expand the reach of these efforts, the Biden administration designated an Arizona-based Indian Health Service facility as an official voter registration hub in October. According to Arizona Democrat Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, Native Health of Phoenix, which caters to urban, Native American, Alaska Natives, and all other individuals, will assist individuals in the voter registration process. Again, much like young voters, Native Americans heavily favor Democrats. Number 5, the Department of Homeland Security. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, an agency within DHS, announced an update to its policy in August, which include provisions directing agency employees to increase awareness and expand access to voter registration during naturalization ceremonies. Studies have indicated a voting preference among legal immigrants for Democrat candidates over Republican ones. Department of Labor's got a program that they're doing, a list of eligible partners who can work to voter registration process. The Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of the Interior, the Department of the Treasury, all the departments that report to the Biden administration have got something going on that will help Joe Biden get reelected. Read this story. And then we've got to start raising hell about it on our side of the equation. Republicans in Washington need to be absolutely on these things and pointing them out and making, and whenever possible, trying to claw them back into submission to make sure that they're not doing these things. 22 past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you about the folks over at USS. We are deep into waterproofing season right now. Want to make sure all of them, we want to make sure that you do everything you can to make sure your house is in good shape when the waters and the rains cause you problems and you have a real like sinking concrete or something like that. The rain will slow down sinking concrete and it leads, so Polly might be off to a slower start. Marketing here, what we want you to know is that indeed, when they do two things there, they do a situation where they come in and they work on foundation issues, but also waterproofing issues. You've got water in your basement and you got walls that are bowing or windows that are cracking and all that kind of stuff. Listen, you need to call the folks at USS. That's right. It's waterproofing. Maybe you have standing water in a crawl space. Maybe you have a wet basement wall. Maybe you're smelling musty odors off the floor joist, or you're finding places where wood is rotting. You have cracks in basement floors. All of these things indicate you need USS for waterproofing work. So why don't you give them a call and have them come out and take a look at your situation? You'll find them to be very knowledgeable. Here's the number, 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855. At USS, they guarantee their best, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Northern Alabama, online at USSTN.com, or call this number, 615-488-7855.
Both President Biden and former President Trump at the southern border, we'll have today's Money News Report. Those stories 30 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock. Super Talk, then at 9/7 WTN.
27 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on this Leap Day, February 29th. Glad that you're with us as you drive home. Hope you get there safely. Take it easy. One thing that I can tell you is you have a better chance of getting home safely in Nashville than you would if you were driving home in Memphis. Well, if this poll is correct.
Really?
A recent study done by Forbes Advisor listed the top 25 cities with the worst drivers in the nation. Now, Nashville's in the top 20, but for the second time in a year, Memphis was very near the top of the list. In fact, it's number 2 in the nation. It has the number 2 worst drivers in the country. So they used 5 metrics to decide this. Number of fatal car crashes per 100,000 city residents, number of fatal car crashes involving a drunk driver, number of fatal car crashes involving a distracted driver, number of fatal car crashes involving a speeding incident per 100,000, number of people killed in fatal crashes, all told for 100,000. So they look at each of those metrics, average them all out, and Memphis, Tennessee is the second city up the list. The number 1 worst drivers in the country are in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But the number 2,
random.
That's right. Well, I don't know why. I've been to Albuquerque. I didn't notice it.
Everyone's trying to take that left turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, it's Albuquerque. That's right, Albuquerque. But Memphis is number 2 on the list. So the list goes Albuquerque, Memphis, Detroit, Tucson, Kansas City, Dallas, Louisville, Phoenix, Fort Worth, and Tampa. We're number 20 here in Nashville. Number 20. So, we're doing better than Memphis. So, if you are driving in Nashville, just remember, you could have it worse.
Yeah, everywhere thinks that whatever city they live in has the worst drivers, but that list right there tells you otherwise.
That's right.
Unless you're in, Albuquerque or Memphis.
No, listen, don't go to Albuquerque and don't go to Memphis. Otherwise, and I think, I was in Detroit. I didn't notice them being particularly bad. Although I noticed that every time Cabana Wife takes a car of mine or a car that we own, let's put it that way, and she goes to Detroit to see family. She'll go up to Michigan. She always comes back with a cracked windshield. I don't know why that is.
Well, I guess it could be worse.
That's right. I mean, I said, are you following the trucks too closely? She said, everybody drives too close up there. I guess that's true. I don't know. But stay out of Memphis and you'll be okay. You'll be all right. 30 minutes past the hour.
.430, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 49 degrees. Showers likely later on this evening. Got a forecast traffic report just ahead, 5 minutes. The 2 presumptive candidates on November's presidential ballot have gotten separate looks at the situation along the U.S.-Mexico border. Jim Ryan is in Brownsville, Texas, where President Biden has been briefed by Border Patrol agents on the declining number of illegal river crossings in that city.
In Eagle Pass, former President Trump was joined by Greg Abbott and asked the Texas governor about a court ruling supporting Border Patrol agents who were cutting razor wire to help migrants in distress. Abbott says,
"We have redoubled the amount of wire that we're putting up, adding more wire."
After his own visit to the border, President Biden wants Congress to reconsider the border security bill that failed this month.
And those senators who oppose it need to set politics aside and pass it on merits.
Now over to some money news. Daria Albinger fills us in on Wall Street's activity today.
Stocks close out the month with some new benchmarks. The Nasdaq soared 144 points for its first record close since November of 2021. The S&P added 27 points, also closing at an all-time high, and the Dow closed up 47. The latest PCE index, an inflation gauge the Federal Reserve favors, rose in January. Another sign that the slowdown in consumer prices is uneven even from month to month. Prices rose 0.3% from December to January, up from 0.1% the previous month. Year-over-year prices were more encouraging, up just 2.4%, down from the 2.6% annual pace in December. Oprah Winfrey is leaving Weight Watchers board of directors, and she's donating all of her interest in the company to a museum. Electronic Arts is cutting about 5% of its workforce, or about 670 employees.
And that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Let me tell you about T. King Insurance again. King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood, been there for 25 years as an independent agency, which is an advantage for you. Really, it is. Here's the advantage of having an independent agent. They can shop around. They're not wedded to one product. They can go to a whole bunch of different companies and find out that insurance policy that is just perfect for you. I mean, it's not one size fits all, and your needs are different than somebody else's needs. Let them look around for you. See if you can find something that saves you money and gives you better insurance. What a deal that would be, huh? The other thing is, if you call this number, the main number, 615-329-8121, you're not going to get one of those annoying recordings that say, your call is important to us, please stand by. Because when you get that, the call is really not that important, or they would answer it. Well, over at T. King Insurance, they actually will answer the call. You'll get an actual person every time who will take your question and get you to the right person and get you an answer. You're not going to be sitting around wasting your valuable time. They are the kings of the multi-policy discount, 20, 25, 30, 35%. So listen, get your royal review with King and Associates Insurance. Log in to tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance and Associates, you'll get royal treatment and great rates.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air on this leap day. That's right, to take a flying leap on leap day.
Don't tell people to do that. It sounds rude.
That does sound rude.
Take a flying leap. Why don't
take a flying leap. Why don't you take a flying leap? No, it's a leap day. I mean, we get this every 4 years. And you pointed out something that I don't know how in the world has never occurred to me. I mean, it's like, duh. Of course, every election year is a leap year.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Every presidential election year.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere last week, but yeah, that's true.
That's true. All right. Well, in the swamp today, the House has passed a short-term funding bill that averts a shutdown. This was, I mean, I don't know. The final vote was 320 to 99. It kicks the government funding deadlines to March 8th and March 22nd, buying lawmakers more time to hash out their differences on spending bills and push them across the finish line. You know, it seems like when we did this around Christmas, well, yeah, surely they'll get it done by, late February. No, apparently not. Story from thehill.com says trouble could loom ahead. Lawmakers say they have a deal on the 6th appropriations bill due next week. Disagreements remain on the other half dozen measures, which include more controversial pieces of legislation, funding agencies like the Pentagon and the Department of Homeland Security. In the near term, the continuing resolution keeps the government running and lends a small victory to Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who is fighting to avoid a shutdown, which would be blamed on House Republicans who've demanded controversial policy additions to funding bills. It puts him on thin ice, however, with members of his right flank who abhor. That's a very strong word. I abhor that. Who abhor short-term spending bills and are becoming fed up with his propensity to put continuing resolutions on the floor that passed with Democrat support, as was the case on Thursday. 113 Republicans voted for the bill compared to 207 Democrats, though slightly more than half the GOP conference voted in favor. Only 2 Democrats voted against it. This is the 4th stopgap bill the chamber has cleared this Congress. It's the 3rd under the Louisiana Republicans' leadership as Speaker. So anyway, no shutdown, kicking the can down the highway, kicking the can down the road to March 8th and March 22nd now. At least it's beyond, Super Tuesday. We'll have to deal with that between now and then. As we told you yesterday, Mitch McConnell is out. He's not going to stay in as the Republican leader beyond November. There have been some calls for him to just go ahead and get out now. And I don't know why he wouldn't. But apparently he wants to hang in there till November. So here's the lineup on who might replace McConnell as the leader for Republicans in the Senate. I think this person will be the majority leader because I believe the Senate is going to flip to Republicans. And that's not just me being Pollyannish and just being, overly optimistic. I mean, I really do think the chances are pretty good that Republicans can take the Senate. I'm not sure they can hold on to the House, but I think they'll prevail in the Senate. Number 1, Senator John Cornyn, I told you this name yesterday, issued a statement Thursday morning asking his Republican colleagues to give him the opportunity to succeed McConnell. He is not the only John expected to enter the race. There's John Thune as well and John Barrasso. All senators named John apparently want to become the Republican leader. Senator John Thune, South Dakota, John Barrasso, Republican of Wyoming, expected to join the running. There could be some darker horse candidates as well. As Minority Whip, Thune is nominally next in line, although Cornyn held that position for 6 years before him. Barrasso serves as the conference chairman, which is the leadership position directly below Whip. Let's see. The 3 Johns, Cornyn, Thune, and Barrasso are well liked in the conference and experienced, but they represent business as usual, said one former aide. A growing number of Republican senators are tired of the top-down management and understand that voters are sick of business as usual. The question is how many of them recognize the political winds have changed. If they don't see it, they'll face rebellion from their voters and many donors. I think that's probably right. I think it'll be interesting to see if President Trump weighs in on this. Thune is the heir apparent because he's been doing McConnell's job for the last year since McConnell's fall. McCormick has been actively working the conference, and Barrasso is seen as the most conservative of the three. Tom Cotton, Republican of Arizona, a dark horse. Frankly, the biggest issue all of them have, particularly Thune and Cornyn, is to demonstrate how they will be different from Mitch McConnell. Conference has generationally and stylistically moved on from McConnell's autocratic leadership style. There's a lot of internal consternation over his signature trait of getting the minority of Republicans to vote with Democrats on every major priority. I don't know. I mean, I like all those names. I like Tom Cotton a lot. Rick Scott is somebody whose name has come up. I don't think he'll have the support, but it does come up as somebody who might also throw his hat. He wears a hat because he ain't got no hair. He'll throw his hat into the ring. And then there's a what the hell is this all about story. I mean, I read this headline. I went, what the heck is going on here? Biden to give $850 million to a Chinese-owned battery company. And just that headline ought to just be enough to hack you off, right? Last summer, the Biden administration announced an $850 million conditional loan to a company called Core Power to build a battery production plant in Arizona. The purpose was to decrease the United States' reliance on China's batteries. But Core Power has enlisted its co-owner, a Chinese battery maker, to help build the taxpayer-funded facility, according to court filings. The Biden administration touted the project as a way to strengthen the domestic battery supply chain and combat China's grip on the global market. Core, with its Idaho headquarters and small staff of around 150 employees, seemed to be the perfect all-American background for the job, but the backstory conflicts with court documents and corporate disclosure filings obtained by the Washington Free Beacon, which outlines the company's extensive roots in China. The records reveal that Core is 14% co-owned by Du Fluoride New Materials, a Chinese battery manufacturer led by the Chinese Communist Party official Li Shijiang. One of Core's directors is Li Shijiang's daughter, Li Lingyun, who serves as vice chair of DFD and is vice president of China's state-supervised Patent Protection Association. In a court filing in November, Core disclosed that DFD New Energy, a China-based subsidiary of Du Fluoride New Materials, will help build the Arizona battery plant. So they're not even using American companies to build the plant. The facility is under construction at present, and DFD New Energy will assist in its build-out. So, I mean, what are we doing business? I mean, I understand the desire. I mean, I think it makes sense. Let's build batteries in America. But why do we need Chinese companies to do that? Do we not have the expertise in America to have an American company build these batteries, or do we have to go to Chinese companies to do that? I think I'm correct in saying that that's what's happening here in the state of Tennessee as well. Down at Blue Oval City, there's a battery manufacturing facility, as I recall. I need to get my double check and triple check my facts on this, but I believe I'm correct, and I believe it is Chinese based. So, I mean, can't we find, if we're going to pick winners and losers, can't we find an American company that has the wherewithal, the knowledge, and the ability to build these batteries so that we're building them here in America? Well, we are building them here in America, but a lot of the profits all go to Chinese companies. How about, having an American company get those profits? I would like that a great deal. Before I move on in this segment, I just want to take a moment to bring you up to date on what's been going out in the Texas Panhandle. Yesterday, I told you that the fire that was going there covered, 850,000 acres and extended into 7 different counties. Well, now it's 1,700 square miles. 1,700 square miles. Most of that in Texas. It also has crossed over into the state of Oklahoma a little bit. And I'm telling you, this is now the largest wildfire in the history of the state of Texas, ever, as long as they've been keeping records. There was one in 2006, it's called the East Amarillo Complex Fire, which burned about 1,400 square miles. And that one, by the way, resulted in the death of 13 people. So far, in these series of fires, only one person has lost her life, and she was an elderly person who was apparently unable to outrun the flames. Very sad. But they do expect that as they start to go back into these communities where so much has been lost, houses have been burned, farms have been burned, ranches have been burned, oil facilities have been burned. All of these things have happened. But one of the most tremendous losses has been to cattle. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cattle have died in these fires, which is really sad. So the big places that have taken the biggest hit seem to be communities known as Borgers, Stinnett, Pampa, and Canadian, a little town called Canadian. And there was a dusting of snow there today, and that helped a little bit, but they still say that it is largely uncontained, only about 3% contained right now, according to the Texas A&M Forest Service. Tremendous loss of land out there, and a tremendous loss of people's homes and belongings that will never be replaced. This is one of my favorite parts of the country. I've spent more than a few number of years there, and I have a very special place in my heart for it. But good people who are having a really rough go of it because of this massive, massive fire. I mean, you're talking about 1,700 square miles. That's a lot of territory. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing so you know how much it will cost before the care is delivered. Smart Care plans start at $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits, free basic labs for the entire year, and because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. If you were to marry this with a high-deductible insurance plan, it could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point Healthcare, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible, and it is a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider year after year after year. Grace Point Healthcare is on Main Street in Franklin. Call this number 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
Congressman Mark Green will be running for re-election. Day 4 of the search for missing autistic 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers out of Sumner County, and possible library legislation here in the volunteer state. Those stories and more coming up. 5 o'clock, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
That's right. You heard it from Mac Maury. He'll have it in the newscast. And if you missed the interview with Mark Green, shortly after he made the announcement that he's changed his mind and he is going to run for re-election after all, he joined us at 3:35. We'll replay that at 5:35. Coming up after the news, we'll get into discussion of what happens on the border today. Big border day. And, of course, you don't want to miss Mac Maury's wild world of sports. It's all straight ahead in the next hour right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 and it's not. People are really tired of that kind of stuff, and if you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, come to Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really supposed to be ready, so you don't waste a lot of time standing around waiting. Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer, and it's without dealer pricing. That's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of a dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. Why would you want to pay for all that? At Eurofix, reliable means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead. Loaner cars are very popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it is reliable. Eurofix, family-owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Cloudy, 48 degrees. Got showers expected later on this evening. Traffic complete weather forecast 5 minutes away. Right now in Tennessee, Congressman Mark Green has decided to stay put and run for re-election rather than retire like previously stated. He joined WTN's The Drive with Brian Wilson.
With everybody just saying, we need you, we need you, we need you. I felt the call of duty. You know, it's sort of like looking at that statue at West Point of Douglas MacArthur, duty, honor, country. I'm like, okay, I guess I need to do this, and I will. And we'll like I said, we'll pick 3 or 4 objectives for the next. And I've got, you know, they're easy to pick, but we'll line those up and get them done in the next term.
And former President Donald Trump allegedly called Green, asking him to stay. There were rumors that Green was thinking about running for governor. He said that would be his dream job. He loves the volunteer state, but that for now it's off of the table. Staying in Tennessee, day 4 now of the search for missing 15-year-old out of Sumner County, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Rogers, who's on the spectrum with autism, was last seen Sunday wearing all black while leaving his home in Hendersonville. Law enforcement officials now starting to ask for help in this search.
Really wanted to come to the community and ask for your help. We need you to search your properties every day, morning and night. If there's a shed or a crawl space or up under your mobile home or a tarp that's in your yard, check it every morning and check it every night. Look for any details that something has been disturbed. If there's a shirt that was there today that wasn't there yesterday, notify us. You can really help us by searching your own property twice a day. Like I said, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, and we really need your help to ensure that he is brought home safely.
And officials confirmed that they have not seen Sebastian on any sort of surveillance video since he's gone missing. Drones have been going on in continuous 2-mile circles. Helicopters also aiding with the search. Foot searchers logged in over 2,000 miles in the first 2 days. They began expanding the search areas. They've headed west today. Sebastian is off his medicine, which could compromise his health. He's believed to be in imminent danger. And Tennessee lawmakers working on a bill that creates a way to get materials someone thinks is obscene off of library shelves.
News Channel 5 says if this bill passes, anyone wanting to file a petition for removal would have to notify the library 30 days in advance. If the two sides agree, it all ends there. But if not, it gets more complicated and it will cost money. The petitioner will have to figure out how many signatures it will require based on the county's voting population and then put down a money deposit to move forward. This bill has several steps to take before it reaches the House floor and hasn't even reached the first committee in the state Senate. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. We're so glad that you're with us. on Thursday, the 29th day of February, Leap Day. That's right. All day long it's been Leap Day. And we get into the early, what is it? March is in like a lion, out like a lamb. Isn't that right?
Oh, we're starting that again, aren't we?
I know.
I can never remember. I think that's right. In like a lion,
out like a lamb. That's right. So, I think actually March may have stayed. I think yesterday would have normally been March 1st if it weren't for the leap year thing. And we had all that wind, so it was in like a lion, yesterday.
Okay.
All right.
Sure. Let's confuse the issue even more than it already is.
I don't know. It's math. I don't know. Listen, let's talk about the situation on the border because, let me just first tell you what we're going to do here. If you missed the interview we had with Representative Mark Green, he has made a decision that he's going to run for re-election. After all, he has changed his mind. He says, I asked him at the end, he says, that's your final answer? And he said, yes, it's my final answer. He is going to run for re-election. And he is the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, which looks at situation like border security, et cetera. He was the guy who brought up the impeachment articles against Alejandro Mayorkas. And so he had things to say about all of that. But he also, of course, then confirmed that he is running for re-election after having on Valentine's Day said he was out. He's now back in. That'll happen at 5:35 after the news at the bottom of the hour. In the meantime, since the border is such a big story here today, let me tell you what's going on. We have dueling press conferences there for a while going on in Texas. And on one side of your screen, if you were watching your cable news shows today, you saw President Biden, who was at Brownsville near Matamoros, Mexico, and he was talking, shuffling around as he does, and getting a briefing from the higher-ups. On the right side of your screen was former President Trump, who was where the action really is in Eagle Pass, Texas, getting a briefing and talking about it. He's doing a big hoo-ha thing on Fox News tonight with Sean Hannity from the border. So he'll talk a little bit about what he saw there tonight. You'll hear all of that. Let me just start, though, by saying that today, when Mayorkas was on his way down with the president on Air Force One, he was asked by reporters in a briefing on Air Force One, what needs to happen to get the border secure. And he makes the case that Congress must act. There's nothing that can be done until Congress acts. And he's trying to get them to pass that bill or this measure that was negotiated between the White House and about 3 senators that the White House, that the folks in the House have said is a non-starter, not going anywhere, dead on arrival. But he says, we need to get that passed. That's the only way we can fix this thing if the Republicans in the House will sign off on this deal that was worked out behind closed doors.
The fact of the matter is that the only enduring solution is legislation. Congress needs to act. We have a bipartisan piece of legislation that 3 senators worked on intensely for a number of months. I was very privileged to be at the table to provide technical and operational expertise. The administration was represented at the table. We need Congress to act.
Interesting. Bipartisan legislation that was worked out by 3 people. And I will add words that he did not say. Behind closed doors and kept a deep, dark secret until they wanted a passage. They didn't give anybody any time to look at the bill. I'm telling you, it's a bad deal because their solution is amnesty. All right? That's what they want. But it's interesting that you now hear Alejandro Mayorkas say that, the only thing that can be done is you got to pass this piece of bipartisan legislation worked out behind closed doors by 3 people that the House has completely rejected. That's the only answer. All right. I'm going to take you back in the way back machine. I remember it as if it were only September of 2021. The Biden administration has been in office, for about 8 months now. And Alejandro Mayorkas is making an appearance on MSNBC. And he says at that time we're very proudly that we have done everything we can to undo the Trump policies on the border.
I'd like to understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
There you go. Remember that? Well, I didn't remember it until I found this today. So understand, they're barely in office. Mayorkas has probably only been confirmed maybe 6 months because it takes a while to get all those things done. And he's talking about in that short period of time between the time of the inauguration and the time that this interview took place in September, that they had rescinded so many of the Trump policies at the border that he can't even begin to list them. He doesn't have time. Well, what happened after that? The entire situation devolved into what we see today. Now, I don't think we had those problems when Trump was president. Here you have an admission that they rescinded all those policies, and then the problem became. So honestly, seems like if it was working before, if they had a policy that was keeping people, from coming into this country and abusing the immigration system, and it was working, and then they rescinded all those policies, and all of a sudden it's not working, then what you need to do is go back to what you had before, right? Am I wrong? I mean, does that make sense or not? You just go back to what you were doing. But, if they do that, then everybody can say, aha, see, it worked before when Trump was in office, but when you came in and screwed everything up, it went to hell in a handbasket. It would prove the point that everybody's been making for a while. And so they can't do that. So now the only thing they can do is say, we really can't take any action without having a piece of legislation passed by Congress, which is, you know what that is. It was double horse, you know what. That's exactly what it is. It's unmitigated. Because clearly all they got to do to fix the problem is just go back to doing what they're doing before. They're not going to do that now. No, it's Republicans who are at fault. It's Republicans at fault. Oh, again, I'm just going to say, look, let's recount this. They had a system that was working, and then Mayorkas says that they rescinded those policies.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
And then it went to hell in a handbag. So, how is it Republicans' fault? The Republicans had the thing solved. It's very clear. Well, anyway, you had these dueling incidents. You got Trump at Eagle Pass. You've got Biden at Brownsville, Matamoros, where nothing is going on. It's all the action is in Eagle Pass. And in Eagle Pass, remember, the rank and file members of the Border Patrol cannot say what's on their mind. They can't do interviews because it's not allowed. But their union representative is Brandon Judd, and he's under no restrictions whatsoever. As the union rep, he can say the things that the rank and file members are not allowed to say. And today he stood with former President Trump, Governor Abbott on the border at Eagle Pass and let loose.
Sir, I want you to know your agents, my agents, they're mad as hell. Absolutely mad that President Biden went to Brownsville, Texas, rather than going to Arizona, rather than going to San Diego, California, rather than coming to Eagle Pass, Texas, which has been the epicenter. What President Trump has seen right here is he's seen how his policies have worked, but he's also seen how he can expand upon those policies once he goes back into the White House. He has seen how Governor Abbott has been able to use his policies to secure this specific area, the epicenter of the last 2 years of the illegal border crisis that we have had to endure. And your agents, President, they are pissed. Border Patrol agents are upset that we cannot get the proper policy that is necessary to protect human life, to protect American citizens, to protect the people that are crossing the border illegally. We want to protect them as well. And we can't do that because President Biden's policies continue to invite people to cross here. Thank goodness we have a governor like Governor Abbott. Thank goodness we have somebody that's willing to run for President of the United States, forgo everything else that he's been doing to serve the American people. President, thank you.
All right. I mean, well, he's wound up, wasn't he? And he's right. The men and women of the Border Patrol, they know how to fix this problem, and all they need is for the Biden administration to rescind the policies that they rescinded. Does that make sense? No, to reinstate the policies they rescinded. That's it. But that's all that needs to be done. And the problem is that the Biden administration wants to find a pathway to amnesty, and anything that they propose, I guarantee you, is going to have a pathway to citizenship, a pathway to amnesty. That's what they're all about. They got all these people into the country. Now they want to make them citizens so they can vote. That's all this is about. It's all that it's ever been about. And now people are dying. We've known for some time they're dying of fentanyl. Now they're dying at the hands of these wanton criminals that are just making their way into our country. From that, I think basically in Venezuela, for example, I think they've just emptied the jails and said, we'll let you out of jail if you'll go to America, because, that way we don't have to deal with you anymore. I bet the crime rates in Venezuela are at an all-time low because all the criminals have come to America. All right. By the way, Mayorkas did get asked by some smart aleck reporter, which I adore. I think this is great. On Air Force One, hey, are you getting ready for your impeachment trial?
Back in session, what are you doing to prepare for the possible impeachment trial? And have you spoken to any lawmakers in Congress?
I have been incredibly busy with the work of the Department of Homeland Security. That's my exclusive focus.
Yeah, I'm too busy to think about getting impeached. Well, the person who came up with those articles of impeachment is Congressman Mark Green, and he was on our show earlier today, and he has some things to say about running for re-election and also about the border, and you'll hear that coming up at 5:35 this afternoon. We'll replay that interview in its entirety. There's a lot of news in it, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. Right now, it's 20 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. A message from Johnny Fleeman, who is the owner of the Brass Lantern and Legends restaurants in our area, now celebrating 35 years here in Middle Tennessee. He'd like to say thank you, and by the way, wants me to tell you about some of the daily specials that you can get. Now, see, the whole thing about going to one of these restaurants is they have a reputation for providing really good, nutritious, delicious food at a reasonable price. So if you want to go out and you don't want to break the bank, just check them out. Mondays, chicken fingers with fries and coleslaw, $8.99. Tuesday, slow cooked 8-ounce prime rib and a side for $18.99. Wednesday is the 6-ounce choice sirloin with a side for only $8.99. Thursday is hamburger steak day. That's $8.99. Sundays, they feature 3 pasta dinners, $9.99 apiece. And for 35 years, the Brass Lantern and Legends restaurants have given you authentic, made-from-scratch, delicious recipes at affordable prices. Listen, don't forget their daily lunch specials, which start at $6.99. And also, don't forget to pick out some of those delicious Johnny Fleeman products at your local grocery store. You're going to enjoy your next visit to the Brass Lantern or Legends restaurant nearest you.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything. with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
President Biden and former President Trump both at the southern border, a standoff in Nashville, and the United States now demanding an investigation into why Israeli soldiers fired and killed civilians. Those stories coming up 30 minutes after the hour, 5 o'clock. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
That's right. It's time for Mac Morey's wild world of sports. And now, without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend. You can't live without him. It's Mac Morey, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The crowd goes wild yet again for Mac Morey.
Even with the change in the weather, they're out there.
Yeah, listen.
We'll settle down.
I mean, come on, folks. It's just Mac Morey. Talk about the change in the weather real quick, a headline. Yeah. I'm going to do this story later. Fluctuations in temperatures can make you sick.
Didn't we already know that?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, didn't your grandma tell you that all those years ago?
Yeah, science now confirms what grandma knew. All right, go ahead. What's on our tab today? What's going on? What are we talking about? Because I didn't get the memo.
Well, first off, Nashville did break ground on the new Tennessee Titans Stadium.
Oh, really?
That happened today. There's not really more information that I can give than that. They stood on the ground. There was a
were there golden shovels?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They had the shovel. They had the
mayor had his hard hat on.
Yeah, golden hard hats. Yeah,
they had the.
Was there a ribbon?
Don't think there was a ribbon. Did not see a ribbon. Basically, there was the example of I can't think of the name. The Little Titan Stadium. They had the
model.
Yes, thank you. They had the model there, which looked kind of cool. But yeah, it's excited, and they're building what they're going to call, Titans Town. That whole little area. So it is exciting, a good thing for Nashville. I just wanted to touch up on that. Because that $2.1 billion Tennessee Titans Stadium is now broke ground. It's officially begun. So I believe we're 3 years away until we get to actually see it all finished.
And to just clarify on this, the new stadium is going to be in the location where the current parking lots of Nissan Stadium is, right? Am I correct on
I believe that is the case.
So that's going to have a huge impact going for the next 3 years as far as parking goes. I mean, I have no idea what they plan to do as far as parking for Nissan Stadium events, but it's going to be a challenge.
I wonder if they know what they're going to do with that. They should probably be getting ready for that.
Yeah.
But we're sticking with the Titans. Some combine news. Today was officially the start of testing for the combines. Today was defensive linemen, linebackers. Tomorrow we'll get defensive backs and tight ends. We're going to talk about a tight end in the Titans today. Saturday will be quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. They saved that for Saturday. People are off work. Everyone wants to watch the quarterbacks and the skill position guys run those 40s, do those bench presses, run little routes. They want to see all those sorts of drills. And then Sunday, those offensive linemen, man, they got to stay there all week in Indy and be ready. And don't eat too many desserts over there in Indianapolis. They got to wait till Sunday. They got multiple days to stay skinny and stay strong. The Titans talked today to a guy, Chris, that you're very familiar with, Georgia tight end Brock Bowers, who is estimated to be picked in the top 10. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans sitting there with the 7th overall pick. And Brock Bowers did confirm today that he spoke with the Titans. He said it wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement. He said that it was all right. He said that he said it went good, I thought. And then they said, would you like getting drafted by the Titans? He said he'd be all right.
He'd be all right.
He'd be all right with getting drafted by the Titans. And then he went on, he said it'd be a cool place to live. So that's really where the Titans are going to have to really dig their heels in. They're not going to go win 10 or 11 games, at least from what we're seeing right now as far as the team's concerned. But you can sell Nashville. You can sell Music City.
Absolutely.
You can sell all that. That's cool. Other franchises have it tougher, especially when they're not as good. I mean, I remember as a Chiefs fan, selling barbecue's tough. I mean, how much can you really sell?
Only go so far,
good rack of ribs. Yeah. It turns out beaches and nightlife really sells a lot more. Tennessee has those things. Brock Bowers mentioned that it'd be a cool place to live.
Can you imagine how difficult it is to get people to go to Green Bay?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to come be cold? Come on.
Exactly. I mean, if you're the NBA and you're the Utah Jazz, you're not really selling Salt Lake City. I don't know what you're doing. There's not a bar open past 9 o'clock, I'm sure there. So they talked to Brock Bowers. Obviously, he's a soft-spoken guy. This guy, I mean, there's jokes that have gone around. This guy says like 5 words every week. I mean, he's just doesn't talk a lot. So for him to say that it'd be all right, that could mean
could be great.
He'd be just so excited.
He's not what you would call effusive.
Ooh, I like that.
Wow, I got to look that one up.
Yeah,
all right.
I got to look that one up too. No, he wouldn't be. He could be elated. Who knows? He's not a man of many words. So right now, I mean, Chig Okonkwo, Josh Wiley, those are the 2 tight ends right now for the Tennessee Titans. Neither of which have really, stated their ground as the starting tight end for next year. Neither of which had a great season. So Brock Bowers at number 7, who'd be one of the smaller tight ends ever drafted. They're going to measure him tomorrow, but people are wondering if he's even going to be 6'2". And if he's not 6'2", that's going to be maybe an issue for him. We get into these weird things of, his arm length wasn't this long. He came in at 205, not 210. These little numbers, these decimal points really start to matter. Should they? That's a different argument. So it's excited to see. And then GM Ran Carthon, real quick, he said that today, talking to the media, it was a good quote from Ran Carthon. It's something that you really want to see out of a front office member for the Tennessee Titans. My number one thing is to always give this city and this state something to be proud of. That's how I approach every day. This guy's a good worker, man. I only second year with Ran Carthon, but he is promising. And he had a good draft class in his first year. Excited to see what he does this next year. He's got a lot of capital, a lot of flexibility. Yeah. Could go a lot of different ways. Excited to see what he does.
All right, good stuff. Well, it's time now to take off that snazzy sports hat, put on your news hat, because it's time for an effusive newscast from Mac Maury. It's 31 minutes past the hour.
.531, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 47 degrees on Music Row. Traffic report, weather forecast 5 minutes away. President Biden and former President Trump both visiting the U.S. southern border today to highlight their approaches to the immigration crisis. President Biden meeting with border agents and local law enforcement in Brownsville, Texas, while Trump was in Eagle Pass. Karen Travers has the latest.
During his briefings at the southern border, President Biden heard from officials about how overwhelmed they are and how they need more resources.
It's time to step up, provide them with significantly more personnel and capability.
The president again pushing for House Republicans to reconsider the border deal negotiated in the Senate, a deal that's dead after political pressure from Donald Trump.
The bipartisan border security deal is a win for the American people, and it's a win for the people of Texas, and it's fair for those who legitimately have a right to come here.
Polls show Biden's approval rating on immigration is a dismal 18%. Right now in Tennessee, 2 people in custody after a standoff situation inside of a car in Antioch. Metro Police, per request of Greenbrier Police, tracked down a woman who was wanted on felony reckless endangerment and felony evading warrants from Robertson County. They located the vehicle. They tried to box it in. The vehicle then fled, and the passenger in that car began shooting at officials. The car became undrivable. They climbed out of the vehicle and surrendered after an hour and 15 minutes of negotiation. And the United States now joining other nations in demanding an investigation into why Israeli soldiers fired on and killed civilians trying to get humanitarian aid in Gaza City. Palestinian health officials say more than 100 are dead. Andy Field.
The Israeli military saying its forces fired on a crowd awaiting humanitarian aid because they began a stampede that soldiers thought threatened them. The U.S. response?
Too many civilians have been killed in Israel's military operations.
Pentagon spokesperson General Pat Ryder saying the U.S. wants Israel to investigate today's Gaza City shooting, which may make any imminent ceasefire more difficult.
And that's the latest news. Weather and traffic next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at DT McCall and Sons, a good company, been around in this area for more than 100 years. And, you know, you really don't get to hang around that long unless you have a reputation for treating people right. I mean, you just don't last that long generally. And they do treat you right. I mean, one of the things you're going to find is that they're honest with you up front. They're going to tell you exactly what something is going to cost. It'll be a good price, but they're not going to play that little game that the big box stores play with you, where they say, okay, look, that thing will cost you X number of dollars. You go, wow, that's a great price. But then you find out that there's an extra charge for delivery, an extra charge for the cords, the hoses, the whatever you need to make the thing work, and then an extra charge for the setup and an extra charge to have the old thing hauled away. No, they're just going to give you a good price, and it's an honest price. They'll never charge you extra for any of those other things. And listen, it's the way you want to do business. That's right. And they have a reputation also for, trying to sell products that are made and manufactured right here in Middle Tennessee. Don't you want to do business with a company that's in Middle Tennessee that makes it a priority to sell products also made in Tennessee? Of course you do. So listen, find out about their convenient locations nearest you by going to their website, dtmccalls.com. 39 minutes past the hour now of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. As we told you, Congressman Mark Green was on our show earlier. About 2:15 today, word came down that he has decided he was going to run for re-election after all, changing his mind. It was on, after having decided that he was not going to. He apparently has turned that around after being requested to do so by a great number of people. And we caught up with him at 3:35. In case you missed it, here is a replay of Mark Green talking about why he has decided now to run for re-election after all. So walk me through it. What happened between Valentine's Day and today?
A tidal wave, Brian. It was. I did not expect it. I think day one I got 2,000 texts. And just people saying, Mark, man, we really want you to stay in, and of course over the couple of weeks it just got louder and louder, and finally some state legislators, it started with Kerry Roberts actually, called me and said, man, I really wish you would run, and I know you got other things you want to do, but those will still be out there. Just go run and be chairman of Homeland Security one more time. And I said, okay, I'll think about it. And then all the dominoes just started falling. Marsha called, of course, President Trump. And so, you obviously, when President Trump calls, you got to think about it. And so we did, and prayed about it, and said, well, we'll get back in. There's still a lot we can do. I did what I promised I would do, and that was enough for me. I thought I'd come home, but there's still more we can do, and we'll put some objectives on the chalkboard and go after those in the next term.
But in your statement on Valentine's Day, you sounded frustrated with Washington. That you said, the battle is not in Washington; it's against Washington. And I think I can do a lot more from the outside than I can do. But you were frustrated. I mean, it's very clear that you were frustrated by some of the things going on, and some stories were written about. We're losing a lot of good chairmen and a lot of good people because of what is perceived to be some toxicity in Washington these days. So, I mean, were you frustrated? I mean, obviously, if you had made a decision that you didn't want to run, there must have been some things that were sort of bugging you about what was going on in the nation's capital.
Well, clearly, everybody, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or, as, one of my heroes in politics, Ron Ramsey, used to say a rocket surgeon, to see the place up here has a lot of dysfunction, and it is very frustrating. And I think it's some of it is inherent in how the two-party system works. The Democrats vote their ideology. Republicans try to represent their districts. So you take a guy like Brian Fitzpatrick out of Philadelphia. He's in the Philadelphia suburbs. He's probably in a Biden 10, right? And he's a Republican, and so he votes differently than I do. My district is a different district. I represent my district. And fortunately for me, my beliefs align with my district. But that means that for Republicans to actually advance an agenda, they got to have a big majority. Whereas the Democrats, they need one vote. That's it. Because they're always going to lockstep vote. So that's probably one of the biggest frustrating things for me up here. But it's inherent in the way our two parties function. I believe in representative democracy. I'm for the way it works, but for us, but because they vote ideologically, I mean, it just makes getting stuff done on a conservative Republican agenda very hard, and it produced a lot of frustration for me. And I came up here and said, these are the things I want to accomplish. We accomplished those things, and some of them very historic. I mean, I led the fight, and that's no mystery to your audience. I led the fight. I had the 9-10 month investigation. Some people were saying rush it. I'm like, no, we have to do this methodically. But we impeached the only sitting cabinet secretary in the history of this country. And I led that fight. I led my colleagues. We got that done. And that was the last thing sort of on my list. And so I was like, okay, I'll go home. But with everybody just saying, we need you, we need you, we need you. I felt the call of duty. It's sort of like looking at that statue at West Point of Douglas MacArthur, duty, honor, country. I'm like, okay, I guess I need to do this, and I will. And we'll like I said, we'll pick 3 or 4 objectives for the next. And I've got, they're easy to pick, but we'll line those up and get them done in the next term.
All right. Some people had suspected or were speculating, I guess is the right word, that when you decided to get out that you were interested in running for governor. So, I mean, is there anything to that? Were you contemplating a run for governor?
I think people have known for a long time. I love Tennessee and the people of Tennessee. And I that job would be a dream job for me. But right now, my focus is reelection and getting some more things done in Congress. But that doesn't take that off the table, I don't think. But for now, we're gonna do this one.
All right. So now, since you are currently and I think going forward will also be the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, we have right now on our screens dueling split-screen coverage of President Biden in Brownsville and former President Trump in Eagle Pass. And it seems that the sitting president of the United States understood that he needed to go to the border, but he's really not seeing much. Your thoughts about that trip to the border and what he's trying to accomplish and what is it all about?
Well, they know politically. I mean, this is the only reason Joe Biden is down there is to try to help his flagging poll numbers, because the border is an 80-20 issue in America right now, and it's rapidly approaching, numbers bigger than that. When you've got people in communities being displaced, you got kids being displaced out of schools, you got murders like this young girl over in Georgia, a medical student or nursing student that was murdered by a Venezuelan who was released into this country. This is going on all over America. There isn't a single American who's safe, and Joe Biden knows he's suffering politically because of his open border policies. Now, the right thing to do would be to follow the law that was written by a bipartisan Congress years ago, but it would fly in the face of their concept for a future America, and they're not going to do it. And so he's down there in a dog and pony show, and they've cleaned it all up so it'll look just fine for him. I promise you this, Brian, and I, as the chair of Homeland, I've been to the border so many times and talked to Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol, Customs Border Protection guys, Border Patrol and Customs guys, and those guys are celebrating Donald Trump's visit, and they are barely tolerating President Biden's.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I found that there was a little clip that I stumbled across today from Secretary Mayorkas. He is still, for the moment, the Secretary of Homeland Security. And it's from September of 2021. This was an appearance on MSNBC. I want you to hear the question, and I want you to hear his answer. Again, remember, this is September of 21. He's been secretary only a few months, and here's how that went down.
I'd like to understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
Now, that's, again, September of 21. You have a situation where they now say, we can't get anything done. We can't fix the border without Congress acting. But you have an admission in September of 21 that indeed they had just undone all the Trump policy era, and we know what happened afterwards. It turned into an unmitigated disaster. It is true, is it not, that this president could simply go back to where we were before and that the situation would be immeasurably better?
Absolutely. They could go even further than that. The president currently has authority to, under emergency conditions, shut the entire border down completely. But the Trump-era policies absolutely worked, and there were about 89, I think, within a few weeks of going into office, that 89 policies that were rescinded, whether it was remain in Mexico or, next nation status or, some of that stuff, and the detention policies, the deportation policies that Trump had, those adhered to the law. And, of course, what President Biden's done is actually violating the law, and why we impeached Mayorkas was just the memos directing his own employees to break the law. But, yeah, there are too many tools available right now to solve the problem. They refuse to do it.
Will the Senate take up the impeachment matter?
the $1,000,000 question, and getting inside the mind of Chuck Schumer, first, the idea of that scares the hell out of me. But I don't think they can afford for us to come over there and present those articles, because every time we talk about this, America gets a little bit more educated on what this president has done to the country. And I mean, this is a fundamental long-term damage. When you look at that 1.8 million known gotaways, and that figure is misleading, because the Border Patrol agents have all left the border to process people at the crossing sites. We have so many more unknown gotaways now, as opposed to known gotaways. And so the number of people that are here that we have no idea who they are. Hamas, well, we don't know. We know we got an al-Shabaab guy released into the country. He was here for almost a year, and they just recently caught him. Thank goodness for the FBI task force on that. We know there are 7 or 9 Uzbekis that were brought here by an ISIS agent, but we don't even know about all the others in that big pile. We know fentanyl's poured into the country, going from $95 a hit to $28 a hit in Tennessee, according to our sheriffs. That's a supply-demand issue. That's because of Joe Biden and Americans have died. We know that the cartels have linked up with the gangs in various cities across the country. They not only own the border, they now own the gangs inside the country. This is, fundamental harm to the United States of America by Joe Biden's immigration policies, all against the laws written by Congress, all disregarding a co-equal branch of government. And that's why I and my team impeached the guy.
All right, so you're in. You're running for re-election.
Yep.
Is that your final answer?
That's the final answer. Yeah. Look, I have a lot of respect for President Trump, and I'm all for him winning. And when he makes a call, that you sit up straight in your chair and you say yes, sir. And so here I am. I'm running for re-election.
All right, Mark Green earlier today coming back and deciding after all that he will run for re-election as the congressional representative for the 7th Congressional District of Tennessee. 51 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Folks, the chairman of the Federal Reserve has said we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. We aren't going to pay off the $34 trillion debt anytime soon, and they'll just print money to pay the interest on the debt and debase the U.S. dollar. You might want to think about saving with gold and other precious metals. I mean, truly, gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times. My friends at Nashville Gold and Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metal market. Maybe you thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but you feel like you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. That's the way I felt, but I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Gold and Coin. Here's how it works. You get an appointment, and then you sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin. They'll answer all your questions and help you make the precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly, you'll learn a lot, and you'll never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. And by the way, if you have some old coins laying around, bring them along. You might be surprised how much they're worth. To set up that one-on-one appointment, go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
You know, this time of year with the fluctuating temperatures, it can be warm one day, cold the next. You need both your AC and your heater working. And if you find one side of your HVAC or the other one is down, why don't you give the folks at Busy Bee a call? They'll buzz right over to your hive and get it fixed. I have had a lot of emergencies here where I've been able to call Busy Bee, and they get right out. I mean, one day I wake up, I got no hot water. Got people coming to stay, no hot water. They got me up in about 4 hours. The other day, I had a sewer line that broke, needed to be fixed. You got to have a working sewer line. It's not good to not have one. And they got me up in just a few hours. That's right. That's the kind of people they are. And listen, you want to become a member of the Beehive Club, $99. 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one at the beginning of heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges, 24/7, 10% off all repairs. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
Six o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 46 degrees in Nashville. Traffic and a complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. With the president's January 6 trial on hold, awaiting a Supreme Court decision on immunity, the special prosecutor trying to move his other federal classified documents case to trial. Andy Field with a new proposed trial date.
Special counsel Jack Smith wants to begin Donald Trump's classified documents trial on July 8th. He made the request ahead of a court conference that the former president plans to attend Friday in Florida. That original trial was supposed to start at the end of May. Mr. Trump's lawyers want to delay the classified documents case until after the 2024 election, but have also offered an August date if the judge disagrees.
Right now in Sumner County, officials still searching 4 days later for 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who has autism. Channel 4's Michael Warwick has word on if Rogers has been seen at all since he's gone missing.
This past hour, we asked specifically if investigators have gotten any video, doorbell video, surveillance camera video of Sebastian, and they told us no, they have not seen any image of Sebastian since he went missing. They are pleading for the public to check your property day and night, and they are urging the public to make those searches in pairs. Also, investigators tell us the family of Sebastian has been very cooperative, and right now they are working on plans to release organized search efforts for the public, though those plans have not been released as of just yet.
They want people looking inside of their sheds, crawl spaces, and to call if anything seems out of the ordinary. Searchers on the ground logged over 2,000 miles in the first 2 days. Sebastian is off his medicine, which could compromise his health. He's believed to be in imminent danger. Tennessee lawmakers working on a bill that creates a way to get material someone thinks is obscene off of library shelves.
News Channel 5 says if this bill passes, anyone wanting to file a petition for removal would have to notify the library 30 days in advance. If the two sides agree, it all ends there. But if not, it gets more complicated and it will cost money. The petitioner will have to figure out how many signatures it will require based on the county's voting population and then put down a money deposit to move forward. This bill has several steps to take before it reaches the House floor and hasn't even reached the first committee in the state Senate. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, hello, everybody. Good evening. It's 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson. And for the fourth and final hour on this leap day, that's right, it's February 29th. We only get that every 4 years. So we're glad that you're with us. Hope you get home safely. And then, we ought to come up with something that happens on leap day, on Groundhog Day, the groundhog sees his shadow. And we need something like that on leap day.
Maybe we could play the Van Halen song "Jump."
Jump.
That's the best I got. Or leap,
Oh yeah, leap. Well, is there any good song are there any good leap year songs?
Not that I've ever heard.
I've never heard. It seems like we have a song for every holiday, but I don't know that there is a good song. But you put your mind to that.
Yeah, I'll think about that. Man, I got 4 years to work it out.
No. We want it before the end of the show.
Oh, well.
So get on it while I'm talking about other stuff. All right, let's talk about politics 2024. I got all kinds of stuff to share with you about how things are shaping up. And there is a lot of news, actually. I want to start with the numbers because the numbers are easy to tell the story. Basically, if there's a battleground state, Trump is leading in it. That's the headline. Remember, in elections, we don't care too much about the general popular vote. I mean, that's interesting. It is a metric that we like to look at, but it's not how you win elections. You win elections by putting together the right combination of states that gets you to 270 electoral college votes. You got to have 270. That's the magic number, right? And so, you know that a certain number of the states, let's go. California, gonna be blue. Oregon State, gonna be blue. New York State, gonna be blue. You know the ones that are gonna be blue. And you know the ones that are gonna be red. Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, and Oklahoma. All right, those are gonna be red states. It's the purple states that matter. You gotta win enough purple states. Those are the so-called battleground states. Sometimes they go blue, sometimes they go red. And you need to win in the battleground states if you have any chance at all of winning a national election and getting 270 electoral college votes. So let's look at where we are in the battleground states, the ones that can go one way or the other. All right. Bloomberg has got a whole bunch of swing state polls out today. This is the 5-way matchup. That's where you got your Biden, you got your Trump, you got your Kennedy, you got the West, the Stein, all the rest of them, all right? 5 candidates. And by the way, that's probably the way to look at it, even though we may have more than 5 candidates by the time we get to Election Day. In Arizona, Trump leads by 9. Wow. Georgia, Trump leads by 7. Bloomberg says that in Michigan, Trump leads by 1. Now, that's the smallest margin, but I've seen other polls out there that have Trump up by 5 in Michigan, up by 5. The Real Clear Politics average is higher than that. That's the one that sort of stands out as maybe not correct, but we'll move on. Nevada, Trump leads by 7. North Carolina, Trump leads by 10. Pennsylvania, unbelievably, Trump leads by 9. I've seen some polls that are tighter than that. And then in Wisconsin, Trump leads by 6. Every single battleground state, Trump is leading in the averages and in this most recent set of polls. Some by significant amounts that are way outside the margin of error. So, that's sounding really good. And this is the thing that terrifies Democrats. Here's the Washington Examiner. Former President Donald Trump leading Joe Biden in 7 must-win swing states, according to Bloomberg's new poll. The poll shows Trump beating Biden in states likely to decide the election results. Swing states are characterized by swinging between being won by Republican and Democrats, depending on the year. 5 of the 7 swing states were won by Trump in 2016 and Biden in 2020. You win 5 out of 7, you can put together the right math. Most everybody really looking at, I think the one that's going to be the swingiest of all the swing states, probably going to be Michigan. I think that's the one to watch. It could go either way, but I think Michigan is going to go for Trump, and Democrats are. Most people say you can't win 270 votes without Michigan. If Biden loses Michigan, it's over. So there's going to be a battle in Michigan. Although 82% of the respondents in the poll said Biden or both candidates were too old to be president. Before being asked about the president's age in the poll, more than 1,000 respondents of the nearly 5,000 polled mentioned Biden's age as a looming problem. Among voters who said they would vote for Biden on November 7th, 7 in 10 said he fit the description of being too old. So, there you go. The good news is in a five-way race, Trump is leading in all 7 important swing states. That's good stuff. Yesterday, we heard that the Supreme Court will take up the matter of Trump's claim of immunity. And this was thought, in the initial going, it seemed like some people thought it was a good thing for Trump. Some people thought, well, initially it's good, but it may not be long-term good. I think as we have had more time to absorb it and think about it, I think the overall arching sense of it is this really helps Trump a lot. Because if the Supreme Court takes this up in April 22nd is when they'll have the arguments before the high court, then it's going to take a while for them to make their decision, and it's going to take them a while to write it, and then if they say that Trump does have immunity, then it's over. I mean, it's going to be real hard for Jack Smith to bring his case. If he says he doesn't have immunity, then the case will go forward, but it's going to be delayed. I mean, and honestly, when you get it, let's say April, May, June, maybe it could be that long. I think probably we'll get some kind of thing in May from the high court on this. They're going to probably do it on an expedited basis. So May, and then you begin a trial in May, and you're going to have 2-3 months of pretrial motions that you got to plow through, and then the basic problem is it pushes it either to very close to election time or beyond election time by the time you actually take up the case. And by the way, the Department of Justice has an official policy. They don't like to take on cases like this during the run-up weeks to an election. They don't want political cases being tried as the election is getting down to the final days. So I don't know. Will they stand by that policy? I don't know. One way or the other, the decision by the Supreme Court to take on the issue of immunity has pleased a lot of people who like Donald Trump, think it's helpful, and it's hacked off a tremendous number of Democrats. Several Democrats expressed outrage over the Supreme Court's decision to hear out former President Donald Trump's claim of immunity. Democrat politicians and commentators denounced the Supreme Court's decision, with their responses suggesting they believe it is likely the high court sides with Trump. Court is placing itself on trial with this decision to hear the former president's total immunity claim. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said it remains to be seen whether the justices will uphold the fundamental American value that no one is above the law, not even a former president. So there you go. Democrats not at all happy. Now, at the same time, the state of Illinois came out with an announcement that they were removing Donald Trump from the ballot in Illinois. Not good. And this is all about the 14th Amendment. Oh, the 14th Amendment. Look, the Supreme Court has already decided to take up that issue. And most political experts and most court watchers believe that the way the questioning went when this was heard before the high court, there are a lot of people who believe it'll be a 9-0 ruling in favor of Trump, that indeed the 14th Amendment cannot be used to keep somebody off a ballot. Most everybody believes that one's going to go in favor of Trump. The other one, I think it's a toss-up, honestly. I do. Taxpayers will pay college students, this one gets me, will pay college students to register Democrat voters. From frontpagemag.com, a guy named Daniel Greenfield is writing. You have to hand it to them. The Democrats don't miss a trick. Now, obviously, much of the Democrat voter registration infrastructure is already taxpayer funded. Many, if not most, of the community groups double as voter registration and outreach operations. They also provide foot soldiers for elections, not to mention protests. When you understand that, you also begin to grasp the massive advantage that Democrats have right now going into an election. But here is the latest shoe to drop. Vice President Kamala Harris met with voting rights leaders on Tuesday to outline her strategy for the government to start paying students to register people. Here's what she said.
We have been doing work to promote voter participation for students. And, for example, we have, under the Federal Work Study program, now allow students to get paid through Federal Work Study to register people and to be nonpartisan poll workers. As we know, this is important for a number of reasons. One, to engage our young leaders in this process and activate them in terms of their ability to strengthen our communities.
Well, okay. I can't believe she thinks that's great. She's drawing attention to something that, Democrats are using your taxpayer dollars to hire kids to register other kids. And we all know young people tend to vote more Democrat than they do Republican, although that's changing a little bit this election season, it seems. But, I mean, the general sense is that these kids will be hand-selected by the Democrats to go out there and rustle up Democrat votes. They're not going to be going into, you're not going to see any college Republicans being put on these committees. No, these are going to be leftist, activists on the campus. In fact, there's another story out there that lays out the story in the background of one person that she mentioned in this meeting that is definitely an activist for the left who's going to go out there now and drum up votes, and your taxpayer dollars are paying for it. I mean, listen, there needs to be a hue and cry about this. There needs to be Republicans on the Hill and elsewhere need to be screaming bloody murder about this, and they're not saying anything. Nothing at all. Now, to that point, I don't have time to go into it, but I've got a 13-page report that's from Federalist.com. You can find the link on yourfarb.com on the 2024 tab. 9 ways the feds are using Biden bucks to rig the 2024 election. It's worth your time to read. It's one of those stories you're going to go, holy cow, how can this possibly be? How are they using tax dollars to pay for some of this stuff? But the advantage of the incumbency is they have an entire group of agencies that report to the White House who are out there doing registration efforts on some level, and taxpayer dollars are paying for it. Read that article. I think you'll find it very interesting. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. All right, it starts today. That's right, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of very hard-to-find Rolex models. All the hottest models that people want and have waited years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces, and they're in pristine condition. During this event, you can take advantage of special pricing and zero-interest financing. And with the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex, Genesis will give you a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings free. That's a $4,000 value. And for this event, Genesis pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex so you can buy, sell, or if you're inclined, trade. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of special financing. Get a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings free. That starts today, runs through Friday and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
I'm always curious, Chris, because when I throw down a challenge, I'm always curious whether you can rise to the challenge, and you very seldom let me down.
Yeah.
Have you been able to find any leap year music?
Well,
songs that are about leap year.
I just feel stupid that I didn't think of this initially whenever we were talking about it.
So you found one? There is one?
Of course I did. And who could forget the classic, the Leap Year Waltz?
Oh yeah, I remember this. It's on my Spotify list.
Yeah, Ivor Novello.
Oh yeah, Ivor Novello. I remember him. Let me see if I recall. He's Welsh. Yeah, he's a singer and a composer and a dramatist. I mean, he's a sort of a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
Born in 1893, I think it is. Yeah,
sounds right.
He died in 51 at the age of 58 years old. Yeah, I remember Ivor Novello and his famous big hit, The Leap Year Waltz.
From the dancing years. Apparently this was that was some play or something that it was composed for. I don't know. That's the only thing I could find that was, other than there's a couple of kids songs I think out there that people made to teach kids about what leap year is, but Nothing else would leap in it at all that I could find.
Nothing leapt to your mind
Nothing.
beyond that, huh?
Nothing.
All right. Well, there you have it. There is a song. All right, so let's just go ahead and do this. Thank you. That was awful.
Well, you don't have to hear it again for another 4 years. So
I know, 4
you're
years.
safe.
Let's put that in the file for 4 years from now. We'll do this bit again.
All right.
I told you earlier there's a story that with what we've had here lately, and I don't know if people watching on Super Talk TV notice I'm rubbing my nose a lot. I think a lot of people are. The story is called How Fluctuations in Temperature Can Make You Sick. And we've all heard this all our lives. But what are the ways that the fluctuations, dramatic fluctuations in temperature, where it's like in the 70s one day, in the 30s the next, and it's kind of, I think last night, when I woke up this morning, it was 26 degrees.
Yeah.
Here they are: infection and illness of upper respiratory tract due to improper clothing. We often dress in too many layers or not enough layers, so the body gets overheated or too cold. This can affect immune response and trigger upper respiratory infections.
Mom always tells you to take a jacket.
That's right.
You might need a jacket or a sweater.
And I always say that's dumb. The temperature outside doesn't dictate whether or not I get sick. It's germs. No, apparently it lowers your immunity response. Number 2, chronic sinus and throat issues. That's what I have. And I think that's largely because of heating and air conditioning systems, and in the winter especially, it's very dry in most places. If you have a certain kind of air conditioning or heating system, the HVAC system. 3, seasonal asthma and bronchitis caused by cold air. People who have these conditions should use an inhaler seasonally to avoid severe chronic coughing episodes. Seasonal allergy from pollen. Plants get confused by changing weather patterns. That means that many flowers bloom early and release pollen, which can aggravate people with seasonal allergies out of season. I'm noticing trees are budding.
Yeah, I've got some.
I saw my first yellow forsythia bloom in the backyard. I'm trying to cut down forsythia. Forsythia is like a weed. You cannot kill that stuff off. You chop it back and it comes back with a vengeance.
You don't like it?
I like it, but it's unwieldy.
It is a little unruly. Yeah.
Yeah. Or unwieldy.
That too.
Let's see. I got 2 more. Cold and flu outbreaks. With the weather temporarily gets better, people gather for group activities, and because we're getting together, we infect each other. All right, that's a stretch. Number 6, muscle and joint injuries. When the weather gets warmer, people tend to leap. That word's right there, leap into outdoor activities.
It's like they knew it was going to be read today.
That's right. And being extremely demanding on muscles and joints that have been inactive during the cold winter spell can lead to injuries. You try to do too much too soon in the season, and you're not up for it because you've been laying around all winter.
To hold off on that spring cleaning.
That's right. Well, I'm in favor of holding off for that.
Yeah.
I hate spring cleaning. But anyway, those are ways that fluctuations in temperatures can make you sick. I think some of those are a stretch.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of them didn't really have anything to do with it.
I think the writer started to write this story, and they got to 3, and they had to make up a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, 30 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, time for the news. if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltz Co. are two guys that you really need to sit down and talk with. I mean, they have a reputation for exceptional quality, craftsmanship, fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind, and that is the Stoltz Co. difference. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can function as a classic tool and work barn, a garage, or even a place to live. Flexibility is key. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. And they don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. Now, do me a favor. Just go to their website, stoltzco.com. That's Stoltzco, STOLTZCO.com. Take a look at some of the things they've done for other people. And then you're going to want to call. I promise. 615-622-5992. Stoltz Co., where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. Learn more at stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 on this Leap Day, February 29th. We're glad you're with us. So let's get you home. We got a few more minutes before we hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one, and he will carry on through the evening. A couple of Hunter Biden stories because, Hunter Biden testified yesterday, and I told you that I thought that would be, it'd take a day for us to sort of get, and I understand that the transcript has been released, and I just haven't had time to go through it while I'm on the air. But apparently the transcript should be the third day story tomorrow. But in his opening statements, it is interesting, and here we're starting to hear a little bit about what was said behind closed doors. And here is Fox News' take on it. Hunter Biden admits he put his father on speakerphone and invited him to certain meetings, but denies that he was involved at all in his business activities. Hunter Biden admitted under his deposition Wednesday, during his deposition, that he put his father, Joe Biden, on speakerphone with business associates and invited him to drop by business lunches, while maintaining that his father has never been involved in business dealings. A transcript of his testimony reviewed by Fox News Digital reveals. Fox News Digital obtained the transcript of Hunter Biden's highly anticipated testimony. The first son set for a deposition on Capitol Hill Wednesday for more than 7 hours as part of the impeachment inquiry against his father. And during his deposition, Hunter Biden testified repeatedly that his father was not involved in his business dealings. But when pressed about testimony from his ex-business associates like Devin Archer and Rob Walker, both of whom claim Hunter Biden put his father on speakerphone when doing business and attended business lunches and meetings, Hunter Biden testified that was normal behavior and he was speaking to his father and spending time with his father. Does that make sense to you? He's at business meetings and he puts his dad on the phone when he's vice president. His dad would drop by for these big meetings at Cafe Milano. And how can you then claim he wasn't involved? Archer testified before the House Oversight Committee last year that Hunter Biden put his father on speakerphone at least 20 times with business associates. When asked if he ever placed his father on speakerphone and with his business associates, Hunter Biden testified, "Certainly my dad had called me. My dad calls me. I'm sure like a lot of your parents do with you, with your children. And if I'm with people that are friends of mine, I have him say hi. I'm surprised Dad hasn't called me right now. And if he did, I would put him on speakerphone and say hi to you and Congressman Raskin and everybody." Oh, he's being a smartass here, isn't he? "And everybody else in the room," Hunter Biden said. "It's nothing nefarious, literally." Well, I don't know, because what you're saying is I can do certain things for you because I have the connections to get things done. Oh, look, here's Dad now on the cell phone. Let's put him on the phone so you can all say hello. That does nothing but prove your bona fides to these people who are going to pay them millions of dollars. Yes, he does. Dad's in on it. That's the message you receive in that meeting. The first son detailed his relationship with his family, describing that when the president was 29 years old, he woke up one day, went to work, and got a phone call and lost his wife and daughter. And in that same accident, also lost my brother and myself. That was when I was 46 years old. My 47-year-old brother died. And our family, when you have a call, I call him or he calls me. I call one of his grandkids or one of my children. You always pick up the phone. So he's just saying, we talk a lot on the phone, and that's why during key business meetings, Dad was just checking to say hello. "Dad, I'm here with the Russian oligarchs. Want to say a nice hello?" "Yeah, hey." And then, apparently when he showed up at this dinner at I think it was at Cafe Milano, you had the Russian oligarch Burisma, Baturina was there, and on the way out the door, he said, "Y'all be nice to my son now, okay?" Now, what does that tell you? That if you scratch my son's back, I'll be there for you. Don't worry. As for business lunches, Hunter Biden said, "Would you call it involvement if my dad was in New York City at the same time I was in New York City and I was having lunch with some of my business associates and I said, 'Hey, Dad, come by for lunch'? Who wouldn't do that? Are you saying that you wouldn't do that with your father if he was in town at the same time?" The first son was asked explicitly about his business dealings with the Chinese energy company CEFC, which has been linked to the Chinese Communist Party. Testified that he began his work with CEFC in the spring of 2017 and admitted that he received money from working with CEFC, but maintained that his father was not at all involved. "I don't know the exact amount, but I know it was completely legal. It was incredibly ethical, and I do know this, that my father never received any money or benefit from any of the businesses that I've ever done." Oh, really? Okay. Well, anyway, Hunter Biden. Here's another version of the story. The headline, Hunter Biden's opening statement to investigators collides with witness testimony and email evidence, from justthenews.com. In his opening statement, this is just from his opening statement, which was released yesterday. To the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday, Hunter Biden told investigators he did not involve his father in his business deals. Yet his assertions directly conflict with publicly available evidence. Hunter Biden's own statements and documentations and witness testimony secured by the committee. He said in the quote in his opening statement, "I am here today to provide the committee with one uncontestable fact that should end the false premise of this inquiry. I did not involve my father in my business." Oh, well, okay, then there's no reason to ask any questions. Hunter said it didn't happen. Not while I was a practicing lawyer, not in my investments or transactions, domestic or international, not as a board member and not as an artist. Okay, we need to put that in quotes. Contrary to the claim, here are some of the documented instances where Hunter Biden involved his father in his business dealings with foreign partners. The Cafe Milano meetings, a trip aboard Air Force Two to Beijing, Naval Observatory meeting, and testimony to the impeachment inquiry. Devin Archer told investigators that Hunter Biden arranged meetings for a foreign client with his father at the official vice presidential residence, the Naval Observatory. In 2015, Hunter Biden brought Mark Holtzman, then the top official at Kazakhstan's largest bank, and former Kazakhstani Prime Minister Karim Masimov, who had previously attended one of the Cafe Milano dinners, to the residence. Archer said the meeting was to discuss Masimov's candidacy to be United Nations Secretary General. Hunter Biden and Archer were engaged in trying to secure business for Burisma in Kazakhstan at the same time, hence the favor for such a prominent banker and the politically connected oligarch, Archer said. There was a CEFC China meeting in D.C., a Burisma board meeting in Dubai, a Mexican partners visit with the White House. Mexican partners went to the White House when he was vice president. But no, he didn't involve his dad in any of his business dealings. He said so that's the end of it, I guess. Look, I'm going to make a prediction here. I bet you that they don't have the public hearing, because exactly what's going to happen in that public hearing is they're going to take the words from his sworn transcript under oath, and then they're going to pull up, you said in your sworn transcript, blah, 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 blah. But here, what about this meeting at Cafe Milano? What about this meeting with Mexican leaders? What about this meeting with CEFC? What about the trip on Air Force Two? I mean, they're just going to go right down the line. And look, the Democrats are going to be running interference in the public hearing. There's no doubt about that. But every time Republicans, get a microphone for 5 minutes, they're going to start pinning his ears back on the things he said in his sworn statement that do not comport with other things that we know to be true from other sources and other documents, bank records, etc. So I think he's probably going to feel like he doesn't want to do that public hearing when all is said and done at the end of the day. And so, there's more stories picking it apart. Quick couple of economic stories as we have time running down here. January inflation has gone up, and it's eating into people's income gains. Maybe you got a raise at the beginning of the year. Well, guess what? Inflation probably ate into that. And that's the problem. Wages go up, and then that means that the cost of producing goods and services and all that kind of stuff also goes up because you have to pay people more, right? And then that means inflation goes up, which means you got to have a pay raise to pay for the things that now cost more. And when you get the pay raise, guess what? It costs more to build your product or sell your good. And then you have to up your prices, and inflation goes up again. That's called an inflation wage spiral. And it's hard to get out of. Jobless claims jumped more than expected last week. The number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits rose more than expected as high-profile companies continue to announce major job cuts. Figures released today by the Labor Department show initial claims for the week ending February 24th jumped by 13,000. Continuing claims filed by Americans who are consecutively receiving unemployment benefits hit 1.9 million. Ended up 45. The week of February 17th ended up 45,000 from the previous week. So, we are hearing a lot of stories about companies, doing well and on the stock markets as they report their profits and all that kind of stuff. But I also hear a lot of stories about companies that are cutting back as they look toward the future, still fearing at some point a recession. And finally, I'll leave you with this. If you have the opportunity to not drive in Memphis, it's probably a good thing. Don't drive in Memphis. Recent study done by Forbes Advisor found that Memphis is the second most dangerous city in the nation to drive in. They did a whole survey going about fatal car crashes, drunk drivers, distracted drivers, speeding, fatal crashes per 100,000. The worst place to drive in the whole country, Albuquerque. The second worst place, Memphis, Tennessee. 50 minutes now past the hour. I'll tell you about the folks over at DT McCall's. Good people, been around in this area for 100 years, more than a century, actually. And the reason that they've lasted so long is they have a reputation for treating people right. They also, they have run a good business. They sell the things you need for your house, right? Appliances, furniture. I have a Cub Cadet mower that I zero turn. I just love the thing. I got it at DT McCall's. Gun safes. Yeah, a lot of people get their gun safes at DT McCall's. A lot of things to think about there. If you need it for your house, chances are you're going to find it at DT McCall's. Free delivery. How many times has someone purchased an appliance, paid extra for the cords and hoses, paid extra for delivery, paid for the haul away? Turned out that price that the big box store gave you wasn't such a good deal, was it? At DT McCall's, you get free delivery, free setup, and free haul away. And whenever possible, this company, based here in Middle Tennessee, tries to do business with other companies that are based in the state of Tennessee. I mean, don't you want to do business with a local firm rather than a big box anonymous store? Keep your dollars local, help out the local economy. And they're doing the same thing by trying to sell products that are made in Middle Tennessee or in the Tennessee area in general. Listen, find out about the 5 convenient locations. One of them is not too far from you, I promise. Go to their website, dtmccalls.com. As you know, I'm in the middle of a journey to lose some weight with the help from the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa in Lebanon. It's true, I did lose a lot of weight last year, but that was because of some health issues that I went through. And when I got through that, started to feel better, guess what? My appetite came roaring back, and so did the weight. Now, I don't want it to get out of control, so I'm looking for some help here. And I've never taken on a weight loss client before, but I really like the way Carly and Jamie and the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa approach all this. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They took the time to really look at my history, my lifestyle, and they customized a plan that best fits my particular needs. So I'll be sharing with you in the days ahead how it's going. I have a weigh-in coming up here in just a bit. Why don't you do what I did? Set up an appointment to develop your customized treatment plan at Restoration Wellness Med Spa. Be part of the more than 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results. Now, whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Take advantage of the newest ideas in weight loss management. 615-470-8124. Or learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.